Yeah, dude, I'm pretty sure we're in it, and I'm just doing audio, so I'll just upload this with like a black screen or something, which is honestly fine. Or
Okay, sounds good.
maybe I'll, if I'm inspired to be creative and put on images, I can do that, but we'll see.
You can flash
Um,
some pictures of your starvation meal plan from Instagram.
and your Instagram photos as well. It'll be great. So, yeah, are you down to just get going? I kind of have a little outline of how I want to start at least, and then just be totally free and open conversation.
Sounds
Um,
good. Go for it.
all right, let's do it. Thank you so much for coming on. You know, this has been a very
It's gonna be
interesting.
friendly. It'll be
Of
friendly.
Dude, of course it is. We have talked in person and it's always friendly. I just totally obviously I think we both stand by what we've said to each other on social media, which is that we couldn't vehemently disagree with each other on many topics any more intensely, and that is fine because that's what the internet is about. So in this conversation we will discuss them. The only It's not an issue. It's fine with me. I think we're both people who like don't get easily offended because we're just trying to seek truth. So I'm not going to be offended by anything you say. I hope that you're not offended by anything that I say because we're both just trying to speak what we truly believe. So I feel fine with that. The thing is that we're talking about some really passionate topics. Maybe
Absolutely.
and that's why like some people listening to this honestly might get triggered, but I'm just not really someone to get triggered. I like to talk with people I disagree with a lot, so I think it is going to be a lot of fun, even though I stand by what I say. And I mean, I don't want we'll get into how we really feel about each other in a second, but the first thing that I wanted to do, I thought it would be interesting. I have a list of maybe 15 or 20 like yes or no questions that I think what we should do, and each one of these is kind of like a topic that we could go on more in depth into. So what I want to do is just state the statement, and then you first and then I will either be able to say like yes I agree or I disagree, and maybe if you need to elaborate in the moment you can have like 30 seconds, but each one of these points we can get into in depth throughout the conversation. I just thought it'd be cool to like state really quickly all the kind of things we agree and disagree on based on what you have been posting, what I've been posting, and then we can get deeper into them. Does that make sense?
I'm down. Yeah, I'm down for the list. Let's
All right,
check it
cool.
out.
All right. First question is is evolution real? In that I'm talking about species evolution, like we started from small single-celled organisms and the animals of the world have turned into what they are based on evolution. Do you say yes or no to that?
I would say I my understanding is evolution is a theory. Um, so I understand the theory. I understand. I mean, I
Do
know where
you
it comes
believe
from.
in the
Charles
theory?
Darwin.
Do you believe in it 100%?
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay, okay, I do. Next one is should gay marriage be legalized everywhere in the whole world?
What do you mean by like the state? Should
Yeah,
I mean if you're
I mean,
asking?
or yeah, like for instance, in the United States, currently gay marriage is federally legal. Two men can get married, two women can get married. Do you think that should be the policy in countries that do regulate marriage everywhere? Do you believe in gay marriage? Essentially, we don't even have to talk about the legal
I
thing.
don't
Do you,
believe in gay marriage, but I mean as far as on a state by state basis, I
I guess I
suppose
don't care
I don't
about
have any
that as
problem.
much. I guess I care more about like, do you think that's a good policy that if a man and a woman can
No,
get
I
married?
think it's
Okay,
horrible.
okay. Do
Horrible
you
policy.
do you think that LGBTQ people, so queer people, not straight, cisgendered people, do you think that those people are born that way, as in it's a genetic thing that they're born to like the same sex or feel like they're in the wrong physical body?
Well, yeah, I believe in gay uncle theory.
What is that?
Well, yes, there's probably yes, there are natural born gay people for sure. I
Okay.
agree with that.
Okay, we agree. And
But
I think that
there's a
there should.
lot of there's a lot of other things there. I don't want to get into it right this second,
Yes, right. We will get into all
but
these things in
that's my
depth.
short
This,
answer, I
right, yeah,
suppose.
this is just the short answer, and I promise you'll have a chance to elaborate on everything to get
I
the
know. I feel like
nuance.
you're trying to pin me in here.
No, no,
It's all
no.
good. I'm
Because I'm
kidding.
saying yes or no too. So
I
far
know. I
we
know.
are right. So far I believe in evolution. I believe that gay people should have the same marriage rights, and it's totally great for gay people to get married. We disagree on those things, but we both agree that LGBTQ people are generally born that way.
Well, I think there's natural gay people. I'm not sure about. I don't
All
believe
of
in
them.
transgenderism. That's a political philosophy that I don't happen to agree with. But
Okay.
yes, there's natural born gay people.
Are you religious?
No.
Me neither. Are
But do you identify as a Jew?
So we will get into that, of course.
I'm
And I
just
would
kidding.
have.
It was a
Well, no,
joke.
no.
I'm trying to
We
break
have.
the ice.
No, dude. We have to. No, there's no ice breaking. I think we really like to have a lot of fun. I think it's like fascinating to talk to someone who we view the world so differently. So Judaism is interesting because it's one of the only religions where, and you would probably agree with this, it is sort of a race as well because there are genetic qualities like big noses, and there are actually genetic things with Jews because we have bred with each other throughout so many years of discrimination. Jews tend to have made babies with Jews, thus there's certain traits. So I can never not identify as a Jew because I am, and all my grandparents, and we're all classically Jewish. I actually have the smallest Jew nose of my whole family, and it's still kind of a Jew nose. My dad and brother and grandpa, you could tell that they're Jewish immediately because it is sort of different. So I guess I am Jewish, but I don't practice the religion. Does that make sense?
It does make sense because I was baptized Greek Orthodox, right? And that, like, my whole dad's family's Greek Orthodox,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't, I don't identify religiously or culturally
Right.
that way at all, So
Right.
I totally understand where you're coming from on that.
Okay. Next one. We're kind of getting a little more heated. Do you believe that some races are better than others? I'm not talking about their governments and their economies. I'm saying, like, do you believe that there's a generalization that certain races are just better people than others, meaning nicer, smarter, less violent? Or do you think that you don't agree with that?
Well, no, I would never say that, one particular group collectively is better than another. Because I think once, that I disagree with that sort of trail of thought. But, so, no, I don't think there's one group of, people that are better than others.
Okay.
I don't believe that. No, it's not a superiority thing.
Okay, we agree on that. Do you think Donald Trump has sexually assaulted women in his lifetime?
I think a lot. I think a lot of that is distraction media. If
Okay,
anything, I'm trying to identify Trump's Adam's apple, and it's
I'm
been a
aware
little
of
bit
that.
harder to do.
I'm aware of that, but do you think, oh, by the way, I forgot to say this in the beginning, there's going to be things we talk about that you know a lot about that I haven't researched at all, and then there probably will be some things that I reference that maybe you haven't researched. So if I ever ask a question that you simply don't have an opinion on it yet, just say, hey, I haven't researched that yet, and I don't have to ask you about your opinion because I would never want you to make an opinion on something that you don't know about yet.
Faux show.
Yeah.
Faux show.
So, do you think Donald Trump has sexually assaulted anyone? Given he has said I can grab women by the pussy without asking them because I'm a celebrity. That's almost a direct quote. So that leads me to believe that he probably has, in one way or another, sexually assaulted women. I believe he probably has. Do you, or do you not have an opinion?
He probably has, but this is pretty typical from our elite. I don't think that. Yes, you're probably right. He could be some sort of serial abuser.
Right.
I mean, so yeah, I agree with you on that. I just don't think it's like you're trying to make it about like Trump
No, we'll get way
specifically, like,
more.
and I think it's
Right, right,
this
right.
is a huge thing.
Right.
They just want
Pedophile,
you
sex
thinking it's
ring.
Trump. Yeah, they
Right, right,
want you
right.
thinking
No,
it's just
dude, we
Trump.
we we
It's
we will
this is
get into it.
a
Yeah.
huge thing. But
Yes.
yes, I'm not going to doubt there's some really weird stuff going on with Trump, with his relationships, with his sexual conquest, if you want to call it that. There's
Okay.
probably something going on.
Do you think that Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama has sexually assaulted anyone, or been
Either that or
involved?
worse, yes. I
Okay. I
think a
do.
lot of this stuff is not,
I
we're not talking about Hillary Clinton being a sex freak sitting on adult men, but yes, I think there's really, really weird stuff going on with both of
okay.
them. And I think
I
Obama is gay.
Okay, I do not believe Obama is gay, and I don't believe that they've sexually assaulted anyone. But we move on. Um, are progressive Democrats such as Alexandria Ocasio Cortez and Bernie Sanders less corrupted and thus more truthful than other more establishment politicians like Hillary
Mm.
Clinton, or even on the right, Donald Trump? Do you believe that progressives are more truthful and realer in politics?
I don't. And just to give you the 30-second answer real quick, I
Yeah.
thought the same thing about Trump 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And I was really, really caught up in the MAGA thing. But no, I don't think AOC or Bernie Sanders or anybody that you're hearing about in the media is going to be very far from Hillary or Trump. In my opinion, it's the Republican Party, which I'm telling my viewers not to vote. And that's my answer.
Okay, I believe they are more those two specific people, AOC, Bernie, Elizabeth Warren. I think progressives are more
Elizabeth
truthful.
Warren lies about being Native American.
Yes, that, and then,
She's
well,
corrupt to the
there's
core.
a reason for that, and I mean, and then she came out and said, "You are right. I did the testing, and because her parents just told her that, and then when she realized she wasn't, she's been public about that." But we move on. I promise we'll get more into it. Is This is like an outline for the viewers to know what we're going to talk about over our
Of course,
conversation.
yeah.
Is
Yeah.
human caused climate change something happening, like the science community would say, from greenhouse gas emissions from cars, oil extraction, agriculture? Is that type of conventionally understood climate change happening? Is that real?
No, it's not real. They're blaming it on us. They're blaming it on the consumer, saying we've got to figure out a way to use less resources. But the geological engineering industries and the solar radiation management industries, those are the ones that are
Right, that's my
causing the
next
weather
question.
problem. There is a weather, we're under total war. And Trump has allowed, in my opinion, the geological engineering firms and private contractors to flood out the heartland of the United States. There has been biblical floods this year that nobody knows about because the media doesn't talk about it, barely makes it onto the local media. And so we're in a situation where we are seriously being attacked using the weather. They will kill you with tornadoes. They will kill you with hurricanes. They will kill you with floods. They will kill you with wildfires.
So those
And
things
it's
are
happening.
created by a geoengineering government
No,
conspiracy.
it's a geological engineering industrial complex. There is an industry that is about weather modification. Whether you
Are
want to
they
believe it or not,
connected
I
to the
can prove
government, or
this
are
to
they
you. But
independent?
Well, yeah, a lot of it would probably be funded by the government, but it would be sort of like NASA or the
Okay.
CIA, where,
Okay.
like the CIA, they operate from a lot of front groups, right? They've got
Right.
Google, they've got Facebook, they have all these
Oh.
front groups that they're actually really operating from. So, the
Okay.
geological engineering firms, the government's involved, but there's probably a lot of private contractors involved at the very top as well.
Interesting. I'm excited to get into that and ask why they'd be doing that. That's going to be interesting. So I don't believe that. I believe that climate change is just happening from the Industrial Revolution and taking fossil fuels out of the earth and putting them into the atmosphere. Are
Well, it's probably not
chemtrails
good, but
real? Are
yeah,
chemtra-
well, yes, but I don't like to use the word chemtrail. I
Okay,
like to
what do you
say
like to use?
stratospheric or atmospheric aerosol injections, and that's what they are. And that's part of the geological engineering firms. They
Okay.
have spraying operations as well as huge ships in the ocean that's just dumping bunker fuel into the atmosphere. It's
Okay.
insane.
I
I can show
don't
it to you on
believe
a
that.
map. You can
Okay.
look at the. We'll talk about it.
Yes. Um, is there a group of rich, specifically Jewish people who meet to conspire against, the rest of us and in order to control power?
Not specifically Jewish, but there is a lot of Jewish people that are of powerful Jewish people that are involved with the white, what I would call the white aristocracy. This is how I
Okay.
identify it, at least in the United States and in Europe. I believe there is some type of, what you can call it a cabal or whatever, but it's not specifically Jewish.
Okay.
Sure, there's going to be a lot of powerful Jewish people there, the entire state of Israel
Right.
involved, but you
Right.
also have, you have Donald Trump and you have this white aristocracy as well. But
Right.
I think it's so much deeper than it's not, it's no, but it's not just specifically Jewish people.
Okay. Was Stalin a Jew of the Soviet Union? Dictator.
Well, you can pull up sources that say that. I'm
Was he a
not.
practicing pro-Jewish dictator?
Well, he wasn't. Obviously, I don't think he was identified like as a Jew religiously. I could be wrong about that. Maybe he did go to synagogue. I don't know, but I would have to look into it more. But
Okay.
I think you can pull up sources that would say that Stalin came probably from Jewish bloodlines. Yeah.
Okay, just to let you know, it is very well known. Anyone can look it up. Stalin's dictatorship of the Soviet Union in the 30s was very specifically atheist and anti any religion. And
Right,
Jews
and
were
that sort
killed.
of thing that comes a lot of the times, especially in government with these social and cultural revolutions, that comes from the sort of Jewish element in those countries. Kind of removing Christ, removing God, removing the family, removing gender. This is a very, it
Jews
stems
believe
from.
in God. I don't believe in God, but Jews do believe in God.
Well, you just said
So,
Stalin was an atheist.
right. He's not. He didn't identify as a Jew. You said
Right, and so what I'm saying is, yeah, if you like a lot of these, it could be
right,
the
but you
Bolshevik
you
Revolution in Russia. It could be the French Revolution in the late 1700s. If you look into this historically, a lot of these revolutions were definitely organized and funded by Jews. For instance, I'll give you a modern day example. In my opinion, we have a crisis at the border, a migrant crisis, and now we have African migrants coming. And a lot of the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations that fund these migrants are foundations like the Open Society Foundation or the Rockefeller Foundation, two Jewish organizations that directly fund plane tickets for African migrants to travel to Brazil and then up to the Mexican border. So
mhm.
the point I'm trying to make to you is that, yes, even though Stalin may not have identified as Jewish or he wasn't a practicing, Judaism,
Mhm.
historically you'll see references, and people can do, they can look this up for themselves. There will be sources that will say that Stalin was Jewish, even though he was promoting atheism.
Right.
Like, yes, I understand that, but maybe he had Jewish parents, maybe he had some Jewish grandparents. I don't know exactly. I'll have to look more into it.
Okay.
But if I had known I was going to be talking about Stalin tonight, I would have read up a little
honestly,
bit more.
I totally agree. I'm not trying to pin you into reading any deep history like that. We're actually probably not going to even talk about that
In
anymore.
my opinion, Jews are very revolutionary type of people. Whenever you see the revolutionary spirit, a lot of the
Bernie
times
Sanders.
there are Jews that are inspiring that, and I don't see why that's not a bad thing to say.
Right, I agree. Jews, as I've said online, there's a disproportionate amount of Jewish people based on their population that have won Nobel laureate prizes. So there is something to Jews being more intelligent and also revolutionary. It's pretty undeniable. My next question is: do you believe that illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants, to be more specific, who are living in the United States, are more likely per capita to commit crimes than native-born Americans? Or do you not
yes. I would say yes, absolutely, 100%. I would say yes. I agree that they probably commit more crimes per capita than American citizens, and it would be hard to extrapolate the details on that because they're not known for showing back up at their asylum hearings. Only 10% make it back to their asylum hearings.
Right, even though that's not that was the policy under Obama, that you can get released and then you have to come to a court hearing, but now that is no longer the policy because you are now detained if you come seeking asylum, which is what we're seeing right now with the detention centers being flooded with immigrants because the policy has changed under Trump. You can't go be free and then come to a court hearing. You're detained before that happens.
You may go to court, but they release all of them. I mean, they're not.
Well, there are people who have been in those.
They're not holding all of those.
There's people currently in the detention centers, in the immigrant detention centers, who have been there for months and months. But yeah. Okay, well, that's kind of all the little bullet points I got, and now we can get into actually talking about stuff in more depth. I thought this is totally open. You can ask me anything you want, and I'll ask you whatever. It's a back and forth now conversation. I want to start out, though, with the Jewish stuff, and really, because I think I am confused on your stance, and I want to know it. You make a lot of posts on Instagram just alluding to the fact that specifically Jewish people who are in some rich Jewish kind of domination conspiracy theory. And as someone who was raised, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to interpret the things that I see you post. I'm very public that I come from a very wealthy, privileged Jewish family in Los Angeles. It's actually a very classic stereotype of Hollywood Jews. My grandpa and my dad and my uncles are in the Hollywood industry. We are Jewish and we have money. It doesn't get much more stereotypical than that. But I thought it would be interesting. Would you be interested, Charles, in hearing how we went from my great-grandparents, my family history of my dad's grandparents who were born in Poland in the early 1900s, and how pretty much I was created. The steps from my great-grandparents' immigration, what my grandfather did, what my dad did to get to me. Would you be interested in hearing that family history story?
Let's hear it. I would love to hear your Jewish family story.
And then stop me whenever you disagree with something, and then I want to hear your opinion on it. Well, you know what? Maybe first I want to hear your opinion. Why do you talk about Jewish people? What is wrong with Jewish people? What is the conspiracy that you think is going on?
Well, I never said there was anything wrong with Jewish people. And as far as, you're asking me if about like conspiracies and stuff. I can give you facts. You know what I mean? That's what I
Uh,
can do. I'm kind of a
give
fact
them to
guy.
me. Why
I
do you talk
understand there's a
about
lot
Jewish
of
people?
there's
Your
conspiracies, and we
whole
do like to get into that in my streams. But I like to give people straight facts. And
give them to
one of
me.
the facts is that we could start with, right, is the fact that because you acknowledge this sort of disproportionate, right, amount of wealth and power, we could say, um, we're talking about we have the entire state of Israel that, in my opinion, has more power than the American people, and they have more power than in the American government than the American people. And so when you sort of start going down this rabbit hole, right? When you start realizing this, when it's pointed out to you, when you see that, like Trump, for instance, he can't get anything done at the border because, in my opinion, there's a lot of people around him, especially uh, dual Israeli citizens, that want mass migration from the third world into our country. Um,
Why do they
and
want
so
that?
Trump can't. Why would they want that? Because it's it's the divide and conquer method, right? If the state of Israel has a voting base of, happy white American families, it's extremely hard. Like when it's extremely hard to put those kind of people under a certain rule of law, I guess you could say. Whereas a lot of these migrants that they're bringing in, these are very desperate people, and they're promised everything. They're promised housing, food, public schooling, vaccines.
What
They're
do you
promised
mean
it all,
brought
and they're
in? A
being
lot of these
used by the
people are voluntarily walking across the border because of either violence or lack of opportunities in their countries like Guatemala and Honduras and stuff like that. How are they being brought in? They're just coming.
well, they're funded. I mean, if these people are
No,
so
they're
poor,
not.
Plantriotic, Jackson,
Yeah.
they're not poor, then why do
No,
they
they're
need to?
very
You
poor.
just
They're
said
not
they were
being
running from.
funded. No, no, no. They're not. Of
Okay,
course, they're poor. I've been
they're
living in
so
these countries,
poor.
and I
So
talk to people all the time. And what happens is you're a very poor Guatemalan, Mexican, Honduran person, and you either hire a guy who is good at getting people across the border, and you spend all the
where are
money
you
that
getting the money to hire a guy if you're poor, Jackson?
dude,
Somebody's
you are
giving it to
selling
you.
Coca-Cola on the street outside of your house, like the families that I've been living with,
And
which you
that's
can
going to
see in.
save up 2 or 3 grand to give to a human trafficker and also get your
Dude,
children and your wife over
oftentimes,
here.
dude, I meet all the time, like literally all the time, people walking on the highways that I'm biking on going north, and I talk to them, and they say, and they have a backpack on, and you can tell they've been walking for a while, and they're just hitchhiking. Some of them have
Well, is
zero
it? Yeah,
money, and they can't hire a coyote in order to get them across when their families work hard in order to try to do it safer. But a lot of people are literally just
okay, they're
hitchhiking and
coming
getting
over.
rides.
Are you're talking? Well, yeah, but these are like single people you've met, right? We're not
Yeah,
talking. You haven't
yeah.
seen the caravans.
No, I'm talking about just individuals, like a lot of the people
Have you
currently.
seen any caravans down there or no?
No, I never crossed paths with the
The
caravans. That
caravans are
never
probably
happened.
more north. But this is my
I mean, I
understanding
was
is that,
through there. Okay, go on.
well, my understanding is back to let's hold on a second. Let's just back up for a minute. Back to
Yeah,
Jewish involvement in mass migration in
right.
America and in Europe. Um, 2 things I want to say about this. Jared Kushner specifically. I mean, you can look this up recently. The record is that Jared Kushner wants the border to stay open, right? Because a lot of these border facilities, like where they detain people, these are private facilities. This has been in the
Right,
news
right,
recently,
right.
and a lot of
Yep.
these privately owned facilities, they want the migrants to keep coming
Yes.
because they're
Yeah.
making money. And it's the
True.
same thing with, it's the same scam with the medical industry. It's the same scam with
Yep.
the
Yep.
banking and the debt industry. It's the
But
same
you think
scam
it
with the
is
transgender
Jews?
porn industry.
So you think it's
The,
Jews that are funding migrant caravans in order for the private detention centers to make more money?
No, what I said is that these private institutions, these private lockup facilities are
Yes.
making money. That's one
But they're
reason to
not
keep the
run by
border open.
Jewish people. So
The
that's a
I didn't say that. I didn't say that
so
detention
then why
facilities
would
were
Jews be
necessarily run by
wanting
Jewish people.
so then what are the Jews getting out of funding mass migration?
In the United States specifically,
Sure.
well, it's not, because, like I said, it's not only. See, I feel like you're trying to like blame it all on Jews when that's not really
No,
my
all I'm doing
position.
is
Like
asking you to explain to my initial question was you talk a lot about Jewish people and your channel is and your Instagram is about finding problems and negative conspiracies that are not public and then you like
that's
to
not true.
share.
That's your opinion. No, that's your opinion. That's not true at all.
What do you mean?
See,
What's
you're
not true?
trying
What
to,
I
this is what you're trying to do. You're trying to say that I put out negativity and that I
No.
don't like Jews, and then
No,
you
no,
try
no.
to
That's
pin me
so
into
not
these weird
true.
questions
That is
where I
so
have
not true.
to sort of
That's so
answer
not true, Charles.
as if I
Calm
agree
down.
with the
Stop, stop,
question that you
stop.
just asked me.
Listen, this is so basic. True or false? You mention Jews
You
on
just
your
made a false
Instagram.
statement about
Okay,
my
I'm
like what I
asking.
do.
Listen, no, that's not
There's no
true.
negativity. There's no negative conspiracies. I'm giving you
No,
simple
no, oh
facts.
no,
Jared Kushner
you
wants
literally
the
just
border open.
You are
Israel
not
wants the border
interpreting.
open.
I'm
Israel wants
so
a weak
Charles.
Democrat
You're
voting majority in the United States that will keep on voting for billions of dollars for Israel. This is plain
got
as
it.
day. Anybody can see this.
Okay, and I have to correct something because you interpreted my question wrong. I didn't mean negative conspiracies like you're putting out negativity. So listen with me.
I
Listen to the
just had to
question.
like listen.
Li-
The
no,
conspiracies
no,
are
no,
not
no.
negative. Just because you don't agree with
Dude,
them
I just
or
said the
because you've never
conspiracies.
looked into it, it
Dude,
doesn't mean
dude,
it's
dude,
negative.
dude,
Like, yes,
stop. Oh my
the
god, you're
elite
killing
are
me.
doing a lot of negative things, but
Holy
it's not
fuck.
just Jews.
Charles,
And
Charles,
just because
stop.
there is a lot of disproportionate Jewish power, that doesn't mean that Jews are the only ones that are involved in, the human migrations and everything else that we're talking about.
Okay, so again,
Am I making
it
myself clear?
so the reason that I wanted you to stop for the last 3 minutes is because I did not mean negative conspiracies. That's not what I meant. You interpreted my question wrong. I said your channel is all about problems you see in the world and you are trying to share the truth with people. What I meant by negative conspiracies is shitty things happen, such as the geoengineering you're talking about of people trying to like create
Stuff like
climate
that
change
happens,
and
yes.
cause
Like, here's
okay, that's what
another.
I meant by negativity, and you are literally trying to shed light and share to people the truth. So you interpreted my
Well, do you
question wrong.
believe
I
that, or do you
just
think I'm? You
wait.
don't. I don't think you
So
honestly believe that.
so wait. What I'm asking is like you okay, so when you mention Jewish people, it's always you're really talking about Israel and Israeli politics. Is
Well,
that the
not
case?
always. It's because there's not just
Because
Israeli involvement. It's all. Remember
because
that
I'm very
revolutionary spirit
anti-Israel.
we were just talking
I
about.
think Israel is a huge are completely full of war criminals in terms of the government of Israel, and they're all military industrial complex pro
Well, yeah, but
war.
that's
I'm
America
not a
too. That's not. You see what I
right.
mean? That's not
Well,
specific to just
America and
Israel. That's
Israel
also
is
America.
practically the same thing. America and Israel have the tightest relationship probably of any two countries. That's the same thing.
In my opinion, is because at the elite are a lot of not only Jews but also Freemasons. You could call them the Illuminati. There's a lot of names for them, but this is very, very real. And these secret societies that exist at the upper echelons of society, they're very real. And so when we're talking about vast conspiracies and stuff, we're talking about the inverted world. It's all around us. They have
Yeah.
lied literally about our own existence
We're
and
gonna agree
what we're
on a few
standing on right now.
things.
So
Yeah.
there's so much to lift, and I had to make it clear that
Mm-hmm.
it's not me spreading negativity. It's just me.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
would say
think
I'm
you do
lifting
spread
a veil.
negativity, and we'll get into that with the LGBTQ stuff. But that's an opinion. I think it's negative. You don't, and then you're free to not think that that's
You think it's
negative.
negative because you like the chaos. You're Jewish. You love the chaos of it all. You've
Okay,
got that like
tell me what you mean
revolutionary
by
spirit.
that.
You're vegan. You know what I mean? You're always in my comment section standing up for the transgenders and stuff. So it's like
Right.
you've got that revolutionary fire, and we both agree that it is kind of like you know what I mean? It's I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what, but it's definitely there.
I think it's a
And
very positive thing to fight for LGBTQ equality because people, but we will get
well,
into
I
that in
don't
a
agree with
second.
equality, though. I think equality is one of the most evil, satanic concepts you guys are trying to
Okay.
push. But listen, my point is that there, that revolutionary spirit, it is positive, but at the same time, there's a lot of unnecessary revolutionary fire in places that I think are it's there to try to burn down what it's it's to burn down what's there and to try to basically use power, money, and wealth to take over, right? That we
Okay.
talked about the secret societies, the elite, the military industrial complex. This is all like the same pool of people that we're talking about,
But it's not
you know
specifically Jews, you're saying.
of course not. Of course
Okay,
not.
got
If
it.
we're talking
Okay.
about the overall globalist elite, no, it's not.
Okay.
And there's probably lots of Jewish people that are not involved with it.
Okay, got it. Then in that case, it might not be interesting to hear my family's history of how we became wealthy in the place where we are, unless you are still interested in hearing it.
Well, no, let's get the background. Let's get the background
Okay.
because, to be honest with you, I don't think I know a whole lot about your family history. So
Okay. Okay, great. So
it'll
here's
be
my
new
quick
content for me.
Great. Here's my quick family history. My great grandparents were born as Jewish Polish people in Poland in the early 1900s. In the
So
19
Ashkenazis.
Yeah, I honestly don't even. I'm a terrible Jew in that I don't even know the Sephardic versus Ashkenazi geographical distinctions. I don't even know, and I don't really care because I don't practice Judaism. But sure, you might know
It's
even
cool.
more than that than me. So they were Jews in Poland. In the 1920s, as Jewish anti-Semitism, of course, this is before Hitler started to invade places, but Jewish anti-Semitism started to become a thing in Eastern Europe in the 20s, and my great-grandparents got the idea that they should probably try to get out of there, which they successfully
Out of
did.
Poland or out of
Out
where
of
they were?
Poland.
Okay, out of Poland. All right.
Out of Poland because anti-Semitism was starting to. They could feel the wave that was obviously going to come in
So what
the
was it?
next
Was
10
it
and
like
20
people
years.
in the street harassing
I
them, or
don't
was it
know.
just bad things about?
I wasn't there. I'm only going off base what my grandpa told me of what his parents told him. But what I do know is that in the 20s, my great grandparents got on a boat and they got to New York City. They had almost no money and they lived in the Bronx. This is before my grandpa was even born. And they were working at grocery stores in the Bronx in New York, which obviously did not have violent anti-Semitism like Eastern Europe was having. They eventually,
Right.
my great grandpa and a couple of his other Jewish friends, after a few years of living there and working in grocery stores, opened up their own kind of ethnic Jewish grocery store with kosher food and stuff like that. And then they had my grandpa, and my grandpa was born poor to my great grandparents, and they did not have money. They owned their little grocery store, but lived a fine life in the Bronx in New York. Then I don't know how, but after, working and making some money, my family, my grandpa and his parents moved to Los Angeles, and my grandpa went to USC. Keep in mind, college tuition was much different in the what would it be, the 40s and 50s than it is today. Um, and he went to USC. He was then drafted to the military, to the Army. He was a journalism major at USC, and he actually got drafted to be a speech writer for some generals. He was deployed in Hawaii,
Mm.
and while he was writing speeches for a general in Hawaii, uh, some Hollywood producer or something was visiting the military base or something like that,
Of
and
course.
and uh,
Of course. Go
and
on.
okay,
What about the
and
military base Plantriotic?
so again, this is just me telling the story that I was told. So
Hollywood and the
somehow,
military. I know. Go on.
my grandpa was or my grandpa's writing was influential to this producer or Hollywood person that heard his speech writing, I guess. And my grandpa, when he was done with his
Did
service,
that guy happen to be was the producer Jewish by any chance?
I have no idea.
Okay.
But my grandpa, when he got out of the military and had his degree in journalism from USC, got hired to write for this movie agency, essentially. And my grandpa, from just working as a young, 25-year-old out of the military, eventually climbed the little ladder of the company that he was hired to and ended up producing films and produced
Nice.
some really big films such as McCabe and Mrs. Miller. These are old movies that you and I probably haven't seen or know, but our parents would. Even the movie The Thing, like the horror movie, the
Yeah, I
original,
know that.
he
I
was
know that.
he was the producer of that. You can look it up. My last name Foster will be there. By the way, my great grandparents' last name was Feigenbaum, which means fig tree in like Yiddish. My great grandparents spoke Yiddish, which is the Jewish language, and
Yeah, yeah.
and my grandpa, when he got into the movie industry, changed it to Foster because it sounded less foreign and it was more acceptable. So we've only been Foster since like the late 50s. We were Feigenbaum before that. And so my grandpa essentially became a producer, but he
Why did
was
he want to
raised
sound less foreign? Is it would did he
because
was it
in
better
Los
like
Angeles in the
economically?
in Los Angeles in the 50s, it was much more easy to go through your career if your name sounded a bit more assimilated than Feigenbaum. Yes, that is
I
why he
see.
did it.
I
And
see.
then, so my grandpa, so we'll finish the history here because we have better things to talk about. But essentially, grew up in a very poor immigrant to immigrant parents and climbed his way up to produce films. By the time my dad was born, he was a successful producer, and then my dad went to college and literally kind of the minute he graduated college got into the film industry as well, and he only worked for 3 companies in his whole career, but of course just climbed the ladder with each job getting bigger until he got the job that he did, and that is how we got into the film industry, and that is how they got money. My great grandparents had no money and were immigrants. My grandfather made some money because his parents worked hard and immigrated to the United States. And then by the time my grandpa had my dad, he had some money, so my dad was put into a privileged position to be in the industry as well. And my dad worked his whole life and actually, and only recently retired this year. And that's the history. I thought you'd find it interesting.
Well, we know, we it's good. We got some more intel on Plantriotic. But
There you
no, I
go.
mean, I appreciate you sharing that with me, and like, I think your viewers too
Sure,
will
thanks.
enjoy
All right,
getting.
well,
I feel
let's.
like I know you a little bit better now, you know. But
Cool. Do you have any comments?
it's a great. Well, it's a really good American story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
Just
is. It is the
coming
American
through to
dream.
New York, going out west to California. You know what I mean? It's the
Yeah,
American dream.
it is.
100%.
Okay, let's talk about LGBTQ stuff because that's very personal to me, and that I have many, literally
Is it?
trans and yes, I have trans and gay family members, and I'm just very progressive and pro all of that
Really?
because yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. My
I know. I
sibling
mean, they're
is a
everywhere.
trans.
I think they're the majority, to be honest with you. Well, what do you think about that? I think we're now in a situation where trannies are the majority.
No, that is crazy. Why would you ever say that? Go poll 100 people around
I mean,
LA, and
I'm
most of them
concerned
will
that
be
that's the situation.
cisgendered.
I think I'm worried that in some pockets, like in Hollywood, in certain upper echelons of the media, I think we have a transgendered
So
epidemic.
how
We
come there's
definitely
not a
do.
trans actor who's the star of Batman or Superman if they're the majority? How come
They're
there's
all
no?
trans. All the actors are trans.
Okay, so
All
here,
of them.
so okay, this is
Literally
very
all of them.
interesting. Okay, so
Name me an
you've had a
actor that's not trans.
so you've had a campaign recently against this concept that there are
I'm not
people in the
against anything. I'm not against
no
anything.
no no
Recently,
no
I've
no
been
no
doing transvestigation. I'm not
right.
against
So
anything.
tell
I'm
me
simply
about
doing a
this. Okay,
transvestigation on my
no,
channel.
I know. So tell me about this. So there are actors and people in the
Well, if you
media
know, why are
who
you saying
claim
I'm
that hey, wait,
against
whoa, 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 let me ask the
LGBT?
question. Let me ask the question. So there are people in Hollywood, actors,
No, because you
comedians,
try to set
whatever.
me up as if I'm
Dude,
taking
I
some
haven't even
position I'm
asked you
not.
no, you're not against it. I'm not. I haven't even asked you the
All right,
question.
all right, all
Listen,
right, all right, all right, all
super
right.
simple question. There are people in the media, comedians, actors, whatever, who say that they are
Athletes.
athletes who say that they are cisgendered, meaning they were born male and with a penis and feel like a male and are male and they present to the world as male, but you think that they are actually trans, but they aren't public about being trans.
I'm
Who?
concerned, yes, that there's a
Okay.
lot of them that are
Well,
not
call out
public
some
about it, and they've.
specific of people who you think are trans that are not public about being trans.
All right, let's start with a couple of well-known couples, Seth Green and his wife. I forget her name, but
Okay.
in my opinion, they are not being truthful about biologically who they really are. I'm suspicious of some of our top politicians right now,
Right, Donald
including
Trump.
Trump and Mike Pence. Now, listen, I know that sounds insane. All I said was I'm suspicious of
Okay.
politicians all the way up to the
So tell me
president and the
what
vice
leads
president right
you
now.
to be suspicious. What is the data that you've collected?
Basic physiology. Okay, you have to with these kind of topics, you can't just get mad about something that I say without actually.
I agree.
Like, people have to listen to this and then go do their own
Yes.
research before they leave a bunch
Absolutely.
of hater comments.
Absolutely.
But basic physiology, observational evidence, and case by case study, anybody can figure this out. Anybody can see. And when you start looking for because a lot of us too, they've inverted so much in this world that when we look at the trans, we just think it's natural, and they lie about it. So a lot of us fall for this stuff, and so there's a lot of unlearning to do. But my point is that basic physiology, right? For instance, the male skull versus the female skull, or the male frame versus the female frame. You can see this. Anybody can. And when you start looking with your eyes that God gave you, you said you believe in God, or you said Jews believe
No,
in God?
I
You
do
might be
not
atheist,
believe
yeah.
in
I think
God.
you're
I'm
you're
not
atheist, yeah.
religious at all.
Well, anyways, but everybody's got eyes, whether you believe
Yes,
God gave them to you
we
or not, and
evolved to
anybody
have
can
those
make
eyes,
these
my buddy.
physiological observance. So it's hard to argue with that,
Yeah,
like.
okay. So here, let me give you the counterpoint so we can have a fun argument about it. So you have a very masculine male jawline, I've noticed. I
Well, thank you.
I have probably a slightly less. Yours is like extremely pronounced, your male jawline.
Mine's
Mine
not
is
extremely pronounced. This is what a male skull looks like.
okay. Would you agree that your
Why
jawline
am
is
I
a bit more
extremely
masculine?
pronounced?
No,
You're saying
because
I'm deformed.
no, you have a good, masculine, handsome jawline. Like I'm not kidding. You really do. Would you say that my jawline is not as as masculine as yours, or are they equal?
Oh, damn. Well,
Listen, what I'm trying to say is, look,
yeah,
I
what are
hope
you trying to
I.
say here?
This
What's
is what I'm
going
trying
on?
to say. So I hope you would agree. Tell me if you disagree that I am a cisgendered male with a penis and I identify as a boy. Would you agree with that?
That's what you tell us.
Would you agree with that?
I'll
Remember,
go with whatever you tell us.
remember,
I mean,
I don't get
that
offended by
am
you. I want to hear
I
your
don't want to
opinion.
misinterpret anything either, because this is the weird position we're at now. If I say
No, we're
yes,
not.
what if you don't identify as that, as a
Well, I don't
cisgendered male? Like, you know what I mean?
but I do. I'm telling you, I identify as a cisgendered male. I was born with a penis. I've never been trans or gay. I'm a very typical born male. I've always been attracted with women. I've never had relationships with men. I have a penis and I identify as a man. I'm just a typical cisgendered person. Do you believe me in that?
Well, yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, sure.
Well,
Well, I mean, I have no reason not to.
why would I no, well I should question if you believe that because you question some people who do claim that they're cisgendered that they're not. So that's why I'm asking.
Yes, because you can observe physiological evidence that would suggest
Yeah, but
that
when you
somebody's
get
not what they're saying
fat,
they are.
when
You
you
understand
get
what I'm saying?
fat, and yes, but listen, when what I
There
was
is a
saying about the
male skull and there's a
jawline,
female skull.
okay, but
You
what
know,
I
the
was saying
leftists are going
about
to
the
tell you all the time
jawline
that there's no
is
such thing as gender. We're all the same, or there's 32 genders, but there are two genders, male and female. Are there going to be variances between that? Yes. Sometimes people are born with 11 fingers, but we don't tell kids in school humans have 11 fingers. Humans have 10
okay.
fingers.
So what I
Some
meant
are
to
born with
say
8.
with the jawline thing is, look, there are men who are just the quote unquote main, the I don't even want to say
There are
normal because I
men and
think
then there are women. This
just
is so
okay.
basic, and
Oh
the
my
fact
God,
that anybody is
just
trying to
wait. You're not
invert
getting
it
what I'm
is
trying to
crazy.
ask. What I'm trying to say is there are clearly cisgendered, let's say men in this case, like you and I, we're both cisgendered men, and you probably have a more dramatic, just genetically jawline that would be on the masculine spectrum than I do, but I'm still a cisgendered man. So what I'm trying to say is
Or
there can
you're
be men.
transgendered and you're lying about it.
Okay, well, I'll have to send you some dick pics later, I guess. Or you can ask some of the vegan social media women I've had relationships with if they think I'm cisgendered or not.
Let's
All
go
I'm
with the
trying to
second
say.
option because the first things are moving too quickly. It's
All
going
right.
too fast.
All I'm trying to say is there are people who are not trans, but they simply have slightly different facial features. Like Seth Green has a less.
Seth Green is a FTM, in my opinion.
Okay, tell me what an FTM is for the people.
It's an FTM. It's
What does that
yeah, it's
stand
an
for?
FTM. It's a female to male, and I don't think we don't have to get into this, but yes, there is an epidemic. They are transitioning people as young as kids. There's even in vitro, or I should say, in utero
So we're
trans
actually
as
going to
well,
agree
and
on
this is a
something
very
here.
real practice. This is part of the satanic new world order element to it, and it's of course, I I haven't really been exposed to that world myself, but like when
So
I'm
I
observing
have.
Hollywood,
Can
I
I
can
tell you
see
my
it. It's real.
experience? Can I tell you?
Yeah.
And we are actually going to agree on some stuff here. I think giving hormone replacement therapy to kids like under the age of 18 who say that they're trans, I actually think that's a bad idea. I think you should wait until you are 18 or an adult until you take
And that's
hormones in
what I
order
think
to
happened
change.
to Owen Benjamin, and I think that's why he got so big, because his parents brought him up with all these hormones, you know?
But don't you think Owen Benjamin, who it's so interesting that you're against Owen Benjamin, because I would think that you guys
Because
maybe have some,
he's a Hollywood
but he's not the typical.
closet STM, and they
He's
are
a pretty
using him as control
conservative
op,
guy.
huh?
Okay. Okay.
They're using
So,
him as control op. He's Hollywood. He dated that Christina
dude,
Ricci
he's like the
transgendered
least
person.
Hollywood person. Of all actors and comedians, Owen
No,
Benjamin is like a right-wing conservative dude that's been ostracized from the Hollywood community.
it's an act though, Jackson. Like, it's all fake. It's not
Okay.
real. It's a
Okay, so let
psyop.
me
It's
tell
not
you my.
real.
Okay,
They're
so let
trying to
me tell you.
control us. And
Okay,
they have
so.
agents in the media right now. It's not just the
Okay,
mainstream media stars. They have agents in the alternative media. You could be one of them, for all I know.
okay, well, I'm not. I will promise that.
I'll take your word on that, and I'll take
As
your
I'm
word that you're
sitting
not
here in
trans either.
my as I'm sitting here as a cisgendered man in my apartment in Costa Rica I'm renting for the month, I promise you I'm not a Hollywood agent in any way.
Then
So,
why do you use the Hollywood language though?
what do you mean?
Like the cisgendered thing. That's what made me ask if you were transgendered, because I don't know
Cisgendered
any
is simply
man
a word that
that's
is used if you learn about this stuff, because I have a transgendered sibling and I will talk about that in a second. Cisgendered is simply a word to identify someone who was born with certain genitalia like a penis who also identifies as a man. That's cisgendered. And then transgendered is a word that human beings use in order to identify someone who is maybe born with male genitalia but actually inside kind of feels like a woman, so they choose to dress and in some cases change their genitalia, or in some cases keep their genitalia and just change their
it's
clothing, or some change their hair. There's a whole spectrum of how trans people like to transition. But my question for you is, so do you think that there are some, like, let's say not Hollywood, your average trans person in Oklahoma, do you think that that is just a real phenomenon, that you can be born with like a penis and as a boy biologically, but feel more comfortable in dresses and hanging out with girls? And like, do you believe that there are just trans individuals in the world who just want to live their life, in dresses and maybe wear a bra, but they were born as boys? Do you think that that's a thing, or do you think there's like a problem there?
I think it's social engineering is what it is.
Really?
I'm not, you can interpret it as a problem or not interpret it as a problem. Everybody's got to pick a side. But at
Well,
the
I'm
end of the
asking
day, in
you.
my
I
opinion,
don't think
it's
it's a problem.
social
I'm asking.
engineering that we're talking
Really?
about. And no, I don't think transgenderism is a real thing. I think it's kind of like psychology or even evolution, where it's a theory, it sounds good, but the reason they need transgenderism is because they need transhumanism. They can't have transhumanism without the transgenderism. They can't have transracialism without the transgenderism. If I were to tell you, Jackson, that, at, let's say, 42 years old, I wake up one day and I start identifying as a black man, a black gay man, you can't say anything about that, because that would be bigoted and discriminatory. And if you were to call me out and say that this is
No,
ridiculous,
I think there's a
you
very
couldn't do that. But
distinct
we can
distinction
understand that I'm
between
not a black gay
transracial
man.
and transgendered. I think that's very different. I don't believe that there's a logical pathway where someone can be born white and then just say that they're a black person. That makes no sense
Then
to me. But let me
your
tell you
sex is
about.
even more important than what, like,
No,
if,
no.
in
Okay,
my
so
opinion,
so
race
let
is
me tell you
even
the story
less,
of let me tell you
is
the
we
story of
more,
my sibling. Let me tell you the story of my sibling. My sibling,
well,
who I
wait,
love very much, who's extremely successful, was
because
born male, with a penis and even dated women growing up, and then came out as gay in college when they realized that they were actually, I mean, it started out as bi and then was like, no, I think I'm actually gay. And it wasn't fun to have to come out in college. You know, we all thought my brother at the time was just a straight person, and it, you know, we're a progressive family, so no one was upset. I mean, it was slightly a bit of a change for my dad to get used to, but it wasn't convenient for my brother to say, hey, I actually like hooking up with dudes. That's not a convenient thing to do, but it felt right for him, and so he did that in his privacy and came out to the family. And then late, and this is not typical. Most people who are gay and trans know it from a very young age. My sibling is kind of an atypical, interesting situation, but and then more recently, my sibling has, and again, this was extremely inconvenient. They don't have an Instagram. They don't post things. This is all in their private life. My sibling realized that they are trans and actually, in an extremely inconvenient way, realized that they felt a lot more comfortable dressing in female clothing sometimes and identifying at more on the female spectrum. And if you analyze how my sibling and the reason I say sibling is because my, you know, I don't want to say brother because they don't identify exactly fully male anymore, but also kind of not really female. I would say they identify more in the non-binary spectrum of kind of both. And this is all extremely emotionally kind of shitty for them. I'm sure they would wish that they were more like me, where I know I'm a dude and feel like a dude and everything is very conventional. They're in a lot of therapy for this because it's a confusing thing to be discovering into their late 20s. But when I observe that, I just see my sibling, who I'm so close to, having to, uh, I guess you could say, struggle, but you know, it's also beautiful because they're really finding themselves and feeling more comfortable than ever. But their journey of, you know, self discovery in a way that I see no signs of my sibling being told to do this. In fact, yeah, it's kind of like crazy for I mean, my parents are so loving and accepting and awesome, but it's not the most convenient thing. I'm sure you would understand that it's not convenient to come out as trans,
Well,
especially if you're not
think about it.
especially if
If
you're
we
not a
had
public
kids, think
figure.
about if you were a parent and like, have you ever like put yourself kind of in that just
Yeah, I'd
mentally?
be
Like, think
totally
about that. It would
fine.
be, especially as a father, that's got to be pretty difficult, you know.
No, no,
Um,
because we
so
honor that
I,
it's
it's
my
hard for me
sibling's
to,
identity, and my sibling is able to one day find a partner that loves them and either have kids or adopt kids or do whatever they want. It has nothing to do with their
mm,
quality of life. My sibling's extremely successful, makes good money, is really educated, and is very talented. This is and has an
I mean,
amazing
a lot
friend
of people
circle
are,
and
but
everything.
the ones that are not, a lot of people are like, that's awesome. But you know, the entire system is sort of in place for this kind of thing. Like there's the concept of the, you know, and this is, I'm not directing any of this towards your family specifically,
Right.
but the concept of like the global homo, right? It's the sort of the Frank
What is that?
Tupanos on the internets, the, you know, it's the sort of, you know, the gym rat, the, you know, just the image
What
they
what
promote,
does
right? That we
going to
see
the
of,
gym have anything to do with if you like to have same-sex sexual stuff?
well, because a lot of trannies and gays go to the gym, they work out at the gym. A lot of the bodybuilders are
A
trannies, the
lot
porn
of a
stars are
lot of
trannies.
straight people go to the gym.
A lot, what?
That makes
The
no
gyms are
sense.
also like there's a lot of hormones there and steroids, so trannies like to hang out around that kind of
Okay, my
stuff. So
sibling
the
does
gym is
absolutely no
definitely,
exercise, doesn't go to the gym.
well, no, but your sibling doesn't post on social media either, but a
Right.
lot of trannies do. Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm concerned that this is like your story with your sibling. I'm concerned this is becoming the norm because everybody is just sort of going
I see.
along with it, and nobody really, you know, it's like
So you
I
don't
get it. Like
think it's
everybody can be
that
who they're
okay,
gonna be,
right.
but what I'm saying is there's a lot of this going on, and it's
So
just
do you
like
know that there are transgender, gay, whatever LGBTQ people in all of the recent history that we know, pre-internet, pre-social media. This is something that people, and they have been ostracized and persecuted. There's a reason that
and
we
listen,
only
I
got
don't
gay
want anybody
marriage
that's
recently.
transgender to feel.
There's no trans presidents. I mean, to say that we live in a society that is like
Well, we had a gay
encouraging
president. We
LGBTQ
had a
stuff.
gay president, and
No, no,
Trump
we
is a
didn't,
little
Charles. We've
questionable.
never
Yes,
had a
we
gay
did.
president. We've never
Plantriotic.
had a gay
Obama's
president.
gay. Michelle is a man.
Okay,
Whether you want to believe it or not, that is the
okay.
truth.
Tell me about that. Tell me where you got that data and that proof.
Pull up the Ellen clip. You don't need data. Go look at the Ellen clip.
What does the Ellen clip? Why did that lead you to believe that Michelle Obama is lying about her gender?
Basic physiology, Plantriotic. I can't deny the
What?
basic physiology. When you see it, it's there. Like people will
You
deny
just
it.
think Michelle Obama looks like a man, is what you're saying.
No, she has a visible penis. And also, not only that, Barack Obama has referred
So how
to
did
her
she have
as
her
Michael.
children? How did she birth her children?
She didn't birth her children. Obviously, the
You
whole thing
are
is a
out of
sham.
your
Those children,
fucking
no.
mind, my friend.
Those children come from different parents, and yeah, it's true. I mean, you got to look into this.
You are one fun, crazy motherfucker.
I'm not crazy. You're
You're
talking about
absolutely crazy.
transforming genders and going from male to female. That is crazy.
No,
I'm
it's not.
talking
It's
about
a
facts and
phenomenon
basic logic.
that happens in communities of every community. I hung out with a trans person who lives in a tiny, like 20-person village in Mexico who doesn't even have internet, who is trans. He was like I even posted about her on
Right,
social media.
that's what I'm
It's a
telling you. I think they're
phenomenon that happens
everywhere.
with
They're
human
everywhere.
beings.
It is. It's a
No, but
phenomenon.
it's
You're
not
right.
influ.
It's a phenomenon,
No, it's a genetic
and
phenomenon.
we
Is what
got to
I'm
get.
saying.
Is it
It's not.
genetic, or is it the
Yes, it's not
chemicals
a
they're spraying
social.
with us,
It's
or
not
is
a
it the
so.
stuff that's in the food supply? How do you know it's
Okay,
genetic? You
tell
have
me
no
about it.
proof for
Okay,
that
great.
statement.
Okay,
You're
you're
making a
right. I don't.
statement. You're
No, these
as
are all
fact, and you have
theories.
no
These are
proof of
all
that.
theories. These
You
are all
can't prove it's
theories.
genetic.
That's what I just said. It's all theories. I'm just saying what I believe, and you're saying what you believe. I can't prove anything.
But I feel like what I'm giving you is a more logical.
Right, and I'm saying I
I'm trying to put
disagree.
logic to all
I'm
this.
saying I am
No,
much more logical.
let me ask you a question. Do you
Okay,
believe
please.
there are more than two genders?
Okay, that's a great question. Yes, I do believe that there are more than two genders.
So you think the human species has more than two genders?
Yes, because I think that there are two sexes, of course. There's people born with male reproductive features, and then female ones, and
but occasionally
and
there's
that's binary.
people born with both.
True, and that is.
And we don't
would both
say
agree,
that there's more than two sexes. We don't say, oh, there's a third sex.
Well, we do.
Like, we don't say that,
There's
'cause it's not true.
intersex. Yeah, we do. There's people born with like interesting genetic variances. But you and I can agree that generally speaking, there are two sexes, obviously, in kind of most
and two genders.
Animal kingdoms. The reason I would say
and two
I don't
genders, right?
So listen,
Say
you asked me a
genders.
question. No, because I don't believe that. You're asking me a
Come
question,
on, we're
and now
almost
you're
there.
and
We're almost there. Just
you're asking me.
get you over the hump.
Don't you want to hear what I believe, or you just want me to say I believe what you believe? Do you want to hear what I believe?
I want to hear why.
Because I want to hear what you believe.
What do you believe with it? What do you believe?
Okay,
with
here's what I believe. I believe that there are more than two genders because I know trans people who, like my sibling, who definitely does not identify and even act like a full male, and also doesn't identify or act like a full female, but kind of somewhere in between. and they identify in that non-binary spectrum. So I would say
Right,
that
but
to
that's
say
one
that
person. That's one
no,
that's
there
one of the
no,
outliers.
it's
Why
not.
does that
No,
one
dude. There's a
person get to
million. There's
change the
tons of
rest of the human race?
No. There's tons of
Explain to me why that.
non-binary people. Here's what I don't agree with.
Wait, how many do you think there are? You said there's tons of.
Exactly. That's what I'm going to
Okay,
get
so
to.
how many are there? How
Right.
many are there? What's the
Right.
population?
Right. So
How many are in the population?
here's
Over
where you and
50%,
I are
right?
going to agree. Here's where you and I are going to agree. I think
You think it's over
the
50%?
the creation of I
There's
identify as Zed and I identify as a fox. I think that there is some bullshit in that, and some progressives might not like to hear
it's
that,
all
but
bullshit.
I don't. No, it's not. There's a huge difference between my sibling, who's an actual person that I have a
How many toes do humans have? How many toes do we have?
Dude, just wait and listen. I'm still stating my opinion. I think that there is a difference between saying that you are kind of non-binary and don't really fit and don't feel inside in the full male or female spectrum. I think there's a difference between that and the fact that on some like progressive websites there's like 50
it's ridiculous.
genders. I don't think that there are 50 genders, but if someone wants to identify as something that is really unique and only them, I think that there is potentially a definitely social or nurturing aspect to that. I don't think that anyone is genetically born a Zed or born a fox. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. But if it made them more comfortable to identify that and just live their productive lifestyle, I would have no problem with it. I wouldn't want to make it a law that you have to call them the gender they prefer. I think that is a taking away of freedom of speech.
Because
but
you're for it in one sentence, and then in the next sentence you're not for it, and it's like
it's very complicated.
Everybody's got to pick a side. At the end of the day, this comes down to truth.
No, it's called nuance.
Logic, and it comes
it's
down
called
to
nuance.
God, and everybody's got to pick a side.
No, it's called nuance.
You can't really say, oh, well, my sibling I accept, but I don't think we should put this on the books. Well, yeah,
listen, if my sibling identified as a fox and wanted to put their gender as a fox, I would call bullshit.
But why is that where you draw the line and not at
because to me
gender?
that's a very obvious line that my brother literally inconveniently likes to wear dresses sometimes and identifies and acts very feminine.
I know,
and
but
I think
I used
that
to
is
like to
different.
shoot heroin. Like doesn't mean it's good or I should do it.
That has nothing to do with how you identify as what hard drugs you're taking. That makes no sense, Charles. That is not.
Well, let me give you an example.
Sense.
I have participated in my fair share of degeneracy, not just drugs, but also, in. No, I don't
know.
Just
Tell
say
me.
I've had my conquests as well. What
does that mean?
That I look back on that I shouldn't have indulged in because
like what?
It's satanic, it's evil, and it's not.
Are you alluding
healthy.
To certain sexual practices that you've engaged in?
Yes, of course. I mean, that's what we're talking
about, right?
Do you feel ashamed
about them now?
Sex. Yes, I would say it's shameful.
Okay, and I'm going to say as a friend that I feel really, really, really sorry that you feel ashamed of the sexual experimentation that you've had, because I see nothing wrong with sexually experimenting if there is consent.
So you think anal sex every day, all day is fine? Like two guys or a heterosexual couple, you think...
If that's how you like to live, I wouldn't.
That's A-okay with you. You think that's cool? That's fine. We should.
I think if there are two,
what do we do with it?
Okay.
Sodomy is so in this year. When does it get to a point where we say, yeah? I mean, you got to pay attention to what they're
listen.
What they're talking
If
about.
there are two men who are in a relationship and they like to have anal sex with each other, literally, that seems like the most normal thing ever. What's wrong with that?
I mean, we must have completely different definitions of normal, but
Okay, is it normal for a man to have sex with his girlfriend?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Is it normal for a straight man to have intercourse, just normal dick and vagina sex. Is that normal to do twice a week? Is that normal?
I mean, I would say that is a much more normal
I mean,
human
do you think that there's something
experience
wrong
other
with
than the
having
one
sex?
you just named before. Huh?
Okay, well, why did you even have to pause? Do you think it's not normal for a straight man and a straight woman in a relationship to have sex?
Well, 2 times a week, that, I mean, depend. Are we talking about like
Okay, once a
year
month,
straight of this?
anytime.
Because that's a lot of that pussy taking a lot, bruh.
Really?
Damn.
You think that's bad to have sex with a partner a couple times a week?
Well, no, I'm not saying it's bad, but think about this: if a pussy took a dick twice a week, every week, 2
I'm
times
sure
a
that
week
happens
for
to
10
tons
years
of people.
straight, imagine what that shit is gonna. Imagine, it's
What?
gonna be crazy. But anyways,
What?
I'm not gonna.
I have no idea what you're talking about. What's
You have
crazy
no
about
idea
that?
what you're talking about. You want to justify transgenderism with no logic behind it.
What do you mean?
And you
There's
want to
some
justify homosexual
Dude,
sodomy with
yeah,
no
what's
logic
wrong with
behind that.
what is wrong with two men who are in love with each other fucking each other in the ass? What's wrong with that?
It physically couldn't be healthy. Like, let's just break it down that way for a
What
moment.
do you mean? That doesn't cause any
Plantriotic,
diseases.
listen to me. Physically,
Dude, I take
it's not
shits.
healthy.
I take shits that are thicker than a penis or a similar thickness to a penis. What's wrong with someone having anal sex? That you don't get
Well, you
sick
just
from
said
having
you
anal
took
sex.
a shit from that area, so
Right,
that's
so I'm
exactly
saying my
why the
butthole can
dick,
open to that. I've never had a penis
the dick
in my
doesn't
butt,
go
but
in that hole. That's the wrong hole. Dicks
there
don't
is no
go
such
in
thing as
man's
wrong.
butts, Plantriotic. I don't know.
What are you talking about?
I don't know how to convince you of this, but that's
Okay, do they
not
go
what
in
God
mouths?
intended.
Can you stick your penis in a person's mouth if they want you to have your penis in their mouth? Is that okay?
That's pretty degenerate. It is pretty degenerate.
Why?
I mean, it's not
That
as
sounds
bad
like a
as
good time
butt,
if it's
but it's
consensual.
pretty degenerate.
Okay, what's degenerate about it?
It's degenerate.
How are
Well, I think
blowjobs
that's how
gonna negatively
Sean Penn and his
affect?
girlfriend got. That's how they got cancer. Sean Penn got throat cancer from eating her butt, and
Oh
it just
my
leads to
God.
all kinds of bad things. I'm not gonna do it.
When was the
anymore.
last
I have
time you were in a
participated
relationship?
in oral sex both ways, but I'm not gonna do it anymore.
Wow. I feel bad about. No, I don't feel bad. I'm just gonna be honest because
I
we
can
got to
look
be
back
honest
on
about
my
this stuff.
past degeneracy, whether it was
Charles,
sex, drugs, or
Charles,
rock
do
and
you
roll,
know?
and I can be like, listen, that was New World Order satanic occultic bullshit, and I'm leaving that in the past, and I'm going to live in
Oh
God
gosh.
and live a better life.
You believe in God,
Yes.
but you're not religious.
I'm not religious, no. I pray at the beach. I don't go to church.
So, do you believe that a God created? Oh, you know what? Okay, so I think that based on how the viewers have heard me react to your stances, I think that they understand. I think they get our stances here. Where I think that you are crazy in these concepts. I think that it is complete. There are no diseases that are caused from just two healthy people without viruses or anything having anal sex, oral sex.
No, but it's not
guys,
just the
girls,
viruses,
girls,
it's
guys,
the damage
whatever.
to the asshole.
I also don't think
you're
there's
not
damage
supposed
if you
to
lube
do
it
that.
up and you just are safe and feel healthy. I think that's totally fine. And I am going to say this, and I'm not trying to offend you, but I have to say there is a concept, Charles, of people who maybe are on the sexual orientation spectrum of gay, bi, whatever, who have engaged in certain gay or non-straight acts and then feel a lot of shame about it because of societal pressure, and then they then turn on it and say that those people are bad, that's bad, it's evil. And I didn't know this, but I think that maybe you are experiencing some shame in that.
It's their own
and I would say you shouldn't be ashamed
I'm
of whatever
just
gets you off. That's okay.
I have enough honesty to say, listen, I lived a degenerate life in the past. I never did
Right.
homo shit. I'm not transgendered, but I did some degenerate shit in the past, and I can look
I
back
think
on it.
there's a
And even
difference
though it was
between
heterosexual
consensual
stuff,
sex and drugs. I think you could call doing heroin a degenerate activity because that probably
of
doesn't make
course,
people's life better. But I think if
of
you
course.
have a girlfriend and she sucks your dick every day or a few days a week, if she enjoys that and you enjoy that, I see no problem with that.
It's not that there's you know, you're always
Or
looking for a
unhealthy.
problem. I'm just
No,
saying it's
sorry,
either
unhealthy.
degenerate or it's not, you know?
But
And
something
yeah, if a girl's
degenerate
sucking dick,
means that
she's a
it's a
fucking little hoe,
negative.
obviously.
What are you talking about? That's so degrading
I
to
don't think
women who
real
just
women
like
suck dick, to
sex.
be honest with you. Like, I'm just being real. Like, I think it's a lot of New
What?
World Order stuff that we're told is good. And I don't think naturally women put dicks in their mouths. You know what I mean? I think it's an idea that you get from
Do
porn,
you
which is,
are you aware
you know,
that
it's
99% of the comments or people fuck comments, but 99% of the people watching this, when they hear you say that it's not a normal thing for a woman to enjoy like sexual activities, that's like not womanly, that they're going to disagree with you? Are you
yeah.
aware
I
of
mean,
that?
people can disagree with me on anything they want. Like that's
Oh, a
fine.
lot
I
of
mean,
people will.
you should see my comment section. Like I'm
Why
ratioed
is your
on the daily.
Instagram
I don't give a fuck
privated,
about
by the
that.
way? Why is your Instagram private?
Oh, because people keep reporting my fucking pictures and they're not even following me, so I just privated it. So I was
Okay, so
tired of
you
my
so
because
so
Instagram takes
so
down my content every day. So
do you
I'm just
do you encourage people to request to follow you though?
yeah, I have like 38 requests. I gotta look through them and shit. Yeah, but I'll start
Okay.
adding people.
All right. Well, I think people understand our very differing viewpoints on what is degenerate activity, what
You
is
love
say.
transgenderism. I think it's ungodly.
I
Can we
don't
agree
love
with
it. I
that?
think it is no. I
You
think
do. You
that
love
trans.
transgenderism,
No, listen.
Jackson. You love it.
I love it in the same way that I
You
love
love it.
cisgenderism. I
You
see
want
no
us all to be
difference. I
transgendered.
don't.
You
What are
probably
you
want
talking
transgendered
about?
kids.
No, you're fucking crazy. You're putting words in my mouth that
Do
aren't
you
true.
want transgendered kids? Yes or no?
That I don't want either. I want my kids to be who they
For the
are. Do you
record,
not get that
well,
difference? Do
right,
you
but do
not
you
get
want
that
straight kids or
difference?
do you want transgender kids? If you had a choice, if you
That's
could
literally
make
like,
a baby in a
oh my god, if I had a choice, straight, because transgendered people are discriminated against. But I don't care if they're
well, I would
trans,
say
gay,
straight because
straight,
I would want to,
anything.
you know, I
Listen,
might
you
want to see
crazy
them have
fuck.
kids. You know what I'm
Listen, you
saying?
crazy fuck. Listen, bro. There's no difference. It's just as normal to be trans as it is to be cis, as it is to be
No, it's
gay,
not.
as it
I
is
don't
to be
believe that.
straight.
I think it's
Right, I'm
satanic.
telling you what I believe. There are some people, most people are born cisgendered straight people. And then I don't know the number, but it's something like, what would you
I
say,
don't know
10,
though anymore. It
15%
could
of
be.
human
I'm
beings
not
are
sure.
gay, and
Are
that
you
is
sure about that?
natural, and that is just they're born gay, and then there's an even small percentage of people that are born trans. So when you say, do you
How
want
many?
trans kids, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I don't want anything. I simply want to have kids, and then whatever they feel inside, I want them to be able to express who they are. Do you not get that?
Yes, but what I'm saying is like
Listen, there's the same
you
amount
got to
of
pick a
gay
side.
people.
Either you're
No,
on the
you
side of transgenderism and that is where you want society to
I'm
go,
fully on.
or
No, you're so fucking
you're not
stupid.
there.
There's no going to transgenderism. There's simply human
We are
beings
because we're in
that come
tranny
out of a
land right now,
vagina and they're
Plantriotic. I'm trying to
born
wake
and
you
they
up out of your
identify as
slumber.
trans. There's just people who identify as trans. It's not
And there's
about
also
creating
people
them.
that are trans that don't identify as trans and they don't tell anybody. Like,
Okay.
listen, I don't want to get personal about it, but when you said that transgender guy in Oklahoma, right? How do
Yeah.
we know that transgender person in Oklahoma is like, what if they're
We
going to
have to
work
trust
as a
them.
woman when they're really a man? Like, and they don't tell anybody. Like,
We just have to
that's what I'm
trust
worried about.
people that
I'm
they're being
concerned that we're
honest
living in a
about
world
their.
where that is what we're seeing everywhere. Like I'm walking down the street in California and I'm seeing Adam's apples on hose. That is
Oh
not,
my god.
like, I know it's not right.
Oh my god. Okay, let's move on. I'm very
Next topic.
fascinated. Next topic is let's go to. I still want to hit climate change, but even more, I think we can do this one pretty short. A recent thing you've been sharing to your viewers is that certain species like orangutans and gorillas are actually
Yes.
not real products of just evolution. Tell me about that.
Well, I don't think gorillas are real. I think it's clear if you look at the videos and you take a second look and you take the veil off of your eyes, you will see that gorillas are simply men in suits. If they can do it in movies, they can do it at the zoo. And that's what's going on here. And the reason that they need gorillas or like orangutans and, the reason they need this is for their evolution theory. And so, yes, I think there's a vast conspiracy to make people think everything from gorillas to dinosaurs actually exists when they don't. And a lot of these these archaeologists or these, elite scientists and stuff, they're part of secret societies. They're part of the Freemasonic order. They're lying to us. Dinosaurs didn't exist like they say they do. And they have no idea that the Earth is like 7 billion years old. Gorillas are definitely not a real thing. It's men in suits. And you ever wonder why the gorillas always are willing to put on a show? Like, just look up gorillas at the zoo. Every day they put on the show, right? And just watch them
Oh
move.
my god.
Gorillas
Okay,
aren't real. Wake
I'm
the
about
fuck up, guys.
I'm about to share a very inconvenient fact to you, Charles.
Well, you're gonna say it's fact, but we'll see.
Well, no, what I'm
Did
about
you
to
work
say,
in a gorilla zoo?
I actually volunteered for 2 months on an orangutan sanctuary in Borneo, Indonesia in
Oh, give me a
2012.
break. I don't believe it.
Wait, you don't believe that I worked with orangutans, and I'll send you pictures immediately after
Send me
this?
pictures of you with the orangutans.
I will send you pictures immediately, my brother. I worked for
Why
2
would
months
they
there.
tell me what is the reason for orangutans? Like, look at them. They're not real.
I literally don't even know where to begin here. So the way evolution works, Charles, is that
Which we've already said I don't believe, and I know how it works. I get it.
Right.
There's small, minor adaptations over time and over millions of years. The birds turn into reptiles, and the reptiles turn into mammals. And yeah, I get it.
That's right.
But that's just a theory, Plantriotic. You can't prove that. It's a theory that is just widely accepted. It's not. There's no proof of it.
Okay, yeah, I think there's literally nowhere to go with this topic in terms of us arguing, other than me saying you are batshit crazy.
Well, speaking of bats, let me just say one more thing. I think a lot of these different species, like when they're like, oh, there's 500 different species of bats. No, there's not. That's bullshit. When they say, oh, there's these new species of frogs in the Amazon rainforest, this is all made up. This is not real. This is psyop.
So what was I seeing? What was
evolution?
So what was I seeing
in the Bible? So, why are they not mentioned in the Bible?
The Bible, that's your metric of truth. That shows a lot. So
the Bible's been around for 2,000 years. Modern science has been around for 200.
Orangutans have been and orangutans have been around for much longer than that. So let me ask you.
Have you ever held an orangutan? Have you ever touched one?
Yes. Many. You fucking idiot. Look on Google. It's called Orangutan Foundation International in Borneo, Indonesia. I lived there for 2 months, and every day I had everywhere from babies to 5-year-olds to 8-year-olds to adult orangutans climbing all over me. One even bit me like a crazy motherfucker, and it almost broke my hand. They're so strong. I literally was... Like, what are you talking about?
This is where it starts getting weird for me, right? Because...
Tell me.
Because everything that, like, it's like you can explain it all, right? Like you know,
What?
everything from the
These are the most
transgendered brother
basic
to I work in an
concepts.
orangutan
All I'm telling you
facility.
are the
Like
facts of my
it's
human
so weird.
experience.
Like
There's
why
nothing weird.
do you
My
think there's a
sibling is trans,
cultural
and
thing here
my
somewhere, or like am
sibling
I
is
just not a part of the club? Like
You're just
I
clear,
don't get it.
dude. I have no idea. It's very random that I happen to have
It's
watched a
so random. I
documentary
know.
called
Like
Born to Be
what the
Wild,
fuck?
and it's a documentary on orangutans, and I emailed the organization and they were accepting volunteers, and I went to it during my gap year in between high school and college. Yes, most people you
Okay.
interview have never interacted with orangutans. I've never interacted with a zebra, with a giraffe.
What if
I happen to have volunteered
and
with orangutans.
let's talk about giraffes. I think
Okay?
giraffes, I think some of these species, if they are real, they're making them in CIA labs and shit. You know what I mean? Something's going on here. You know what I mean? Something's really like,
No, I do not know
when it
what you
comes to
mean, but I am
giraffes, right? When it comes
enjoying
to
hearing your perspective.
the platypus, right? Do you believe platypuses are real?
Absolutely.
How do you know? Have you ever seen one? I
I've
haven't.
never
So
I haven't
until I
seen a
can hold and
platypus.
see one, they look fake as fuck to me.
Well, I've held and seen orangutans of all different ages who can fucking climb trees like a motherfucker immediately, and there's no way that was a person in a suit. No way. Let's talk about chemtrails. So I recently watched a video of a commercial pilot trying to explain the why when you see
Bullshit.
contrails and stuff in the sky, how there's a very logical scientific explanation of streaks in the sky from planes. Some of the explanations are
Scientific is a method of investigation. That's all
all
it
right.
is.
So let's
Whenever
start
you
by
hear them
telling
say that,
me
they're bullshit. There's nothing
so
scientific about anything he said.
so you don't use I didn't finish what I said, but you don't use the term chemtrail. Talk to me about the
They're
campaign of
aerosol injections. I'm looking
geoengineering.
at one right now. They're spraying the
Okay.
sky right now. I can see it.
Okay, so take me from start to finish. Who is they? What are they doing? What's the function? What's going
Geological
on?
engineering industries and
Okay,
private contractors.
but get
along with
even
the
deeper.
military.
Why are they? What are they doing? What are the effects? Is it good for the human race? Is it bad? Like, start from the beginning.
It's probably for weather modification specifically, but as an extra bonus, it's not, conveniently for them, it's not healthy for the humans. No, I'm not going to say that they're directly spraying us to cause us illness, but they are making weather. The future is made to order snow or rain or whatever, this is the future. This is where it's going. They want to control all the world's resources. That includes the rainwater and all the moisture in the air. They use coherent microwaves to zap the water out of the air, and that's why a lot of these places are in drought right now. And there's flooding going on in the United States and in India. They're flooding India out. This is very, 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 very real. There is a war going on right now, Plantriotic. We are under complete and total war. And the geological engineering industry is only one of many ways that they're attacking us. But they are using weather warfare. You may not believe it, but you got to look at the images from the Midwest. You've got to realize what has happened in the Midwest this spring with biblical. It's all flooded, man. And there's a complete takeover of our food supply. The geological engineering industries are related to big agriculture, and the sort of globalist food model system. It's all related. Weather modification, agriculture, food supply, all of this. So, this is very, very, very real. And there's a war going on right now.
So is it a war when you say weather modification? Is it in order to increase the Earth's average temperature? Is it in order to combat like human-caused scientific climate change?
No,
what is
that's the
the
cover
war?
they use. That's the cover. The war is they want to control the resources, and that includes controlling the weather, and they are doing it.
So how does melting ice caps and increasing sea level, how is that good for like industry when they're flooding communities?
Well, the reason that it's not good for the communities, obviously not. It's good for
Right. No, no,
them
no. I'm
because
saying
what's
good for
happening
the.
now,
Yeah.
what's happening is and there's reports. Mike Morrell's a channel with 40,000 subscribers. He shows you the chemtrails from the satellites every single night. Mike Morrell said, and I'm quoting him, quote, "This is a 9/11 scale attack," end quote, on
Wow. Quoting a
the
crazy
independent family
person from
farming
the
industry.
internet. How powerful.
That's what Mike Morrells says, okay? I'm quoting somebody else. I'm not in the
Yeah,
Midwest, but I've
against
seen the
actual
images from the Midwest.
scientists.
There is a terrorist act going on by you can call them whatever you want to call them, but the private contractors and the
Again,
military
what are they
that
getting
are.
out of it? What are they getting out of it? Why are
So
they doing it?
weather modification is one thing, right? Because like if we just as humans, they're thinking it's more convenient for them to control the weather than to just let the weather control them. So that's part of it. They get weather modification. But that's not only the case, it's also about our food supply. They have flooded using geological engineering technology, they have flooded out the Midwest, the plain, like states like Missouri, Idaho, Kansas, all of that. Places in
Right.
Georgia, it's
The
everywhere. It's biblical flooding.
the scientific mainstream theory would be due to human caused climate change from the Industrial Revolution and putting more carbon into the atmosphere and increasing Earth's temperatures. It is
Bullshit.
accentuating things
It's convenient for them to blame
floods
us, isn't
and
it? To
storms.
blame the consumers. It's all
No,
our
it's
fault,
just
right?
basic science.
It's not the elite.
I got my
It's not
bachelor's
basic
degree
science. That's a talking point you
non-elite.
got from the mainstream media.
No,
It's
I
not
got my
true.
degree in environmental climate science from teachers who are middle class people from the middle of the
Yes,
country in
but
Colorado
you
who
were
are scientists.
indoctrinated. You studied this in college, right?
Do you not see the hypocrisy how you are indoctrinated by conspiracy theory people on the internet and I've actually read
No.
textbooks?
I'm not, because I've looked into this myself. Nobody taught me
Dude,
this.
I
I've
got
looked
my
into it.
degree for 4 years and studied chemistry and climate science and calculus and put it all together to learn about climate change. And it makes total
Right, and the
scientific
fact that you
sense to
don't
me.
know what geological engineering is really
Oh
kind
my
of
god.
weird, don't you
Dude,
think?
that's
Like,
no, I think it's a conspiracy theory that is made up by people on the internet that there's industries and governments that are actually creating
I've got sources
all
where
of that.
they admit
Dude,
to the aerosol
oh my
injections.
gosh.
It's like NASA and the CIA and the UN
And it's just that
these
no one's
alphabet
woken up to
agencies
it.
that
So
are
all
doing
the
it.
information is public. It's just we're all indoctrinated to believe the scientists who don't know what they're talking about.
Of course, yes, to believe
okay?
the priest class, the experts,
Okay.
the military medical industrial complex. Of
Okay.
course. Yes.
Okay. Okay. I have a interesting statistic for you that you can look this up. It's from the Cato Institute, which is funded by the
60%
Koch brothers.
are trans.
No, that.
Oh, damn.
So this is not a liberal thing. This is from the Koch brothers, who you know are some of the most conservative billionaires who funded a study.
Well, they're globalists, but okay.
Yes. So it turns
So
out,
they're not that conservative.
and I
For
quote,
mass migration, they're not that conservative.
so what they did, this is a very simple study. Hopefully you can understand this study design. They took people who were incarcerated, who committed crimes that were illegal, undocumented immigrants, and then people that were native-born, non-undocumented people, just native-born Americans. And
Right.
here's the quote from this non-liberal, it's from the Cato Institute. It's a very mainstream conservative research institute. As a percentage, there were 56%. So that's not like individuals. It's not just because there's more native-born people than immigrants. It's all taking care of those percentages. So this is a true percentage. It's not like a misrepresented number of people. 56% fewer criminal convictions of illegal immigrants than native-born Americans. And when it comes to legal immigrants, so people that are immigrants who do have documentation and have done it legally, they have an 85% lower rate of committing crimes than native-born Americans. So all that shows is that, if anything, immigrants to this country are actually more careful about not committing crimes than native-born people. So I'm not saying that that's...
conclusion based on one study from the Koch brothers.
Okay, and that's fair. And if you present me with another one, you can totally send me that. But I'm telling you that's the study that I found.
But you see, Plantriotic, this is the thing. I could counter that study. You could counter the study I bring up.
Yes, there is a problem with studies like that.
It comes down to you have to trust your own vision. And
you have to look at all the studies together as a meta-analysis versus just your opinion, man, which is how you like to live life.
That's what I'm doing constantly when it comes to all of these topics. That's what I do. It's a meta-analysis, essentially.
All right. Was the Jewish Holocaust real? Were the Nazis real? Did they kill 6 million Jews? Is that real?
I'm gonna give you facts here. Okay.
Okay.
These are
give me the facts.
This is not debatable. The way I'm gonna answer this. These are facts.
Okay.
The Red Cross, right after the war, like a month or so after the war, claimed 265,000, I believe is the exact number. I say 200,000 on my Instagram sometimes, but it's 265,000 Jewish souls perished in World War II, okay? Including whatever happened in Germany.
For people who don't know, that is much, much lower than the number that most people would
The ADL came out in 1965, I believe, with the 6 million number, okay? And so those are two facts. You can look it up right now while we're talking about this. All I'm going to say after that is, in my opinion, the ADL is not to be trusted. The ADL is an adversary and an anti-American organization.
So you do believe that Hitler and the Nazis were real, you just believe a significantly less number of Jews were killed?
Well, as far as I wasn't there, right? So all of this stuff that I know about Hitler and Germany and World War II, a lot of this stuff was stuff that they told us in the public school system. I've done my own research into things, and I've heard theories ranging everything from Hitler didn't even exist, the whole thing's a psyop, all the way to Hitler and the Nazis went underground and they became the UN. And now the Nazis still rule over us using the UN. So we don't really know, Jackson. You weren't alive. I wasn't alive. None of us really know. But
there are people, we do have a few Holocaust survivors. Of course, guys, anyone listening to this will agree with me that the Holocaust was real and 6 million Jews did die. But so what do you say?
That's what the ADL says. You have no proof.
So what do you say? So what do you
no.
say to the current Holocaust survivors who have tattoos on their wrists and experienced concentration camps? Do you think they're lying? Are they actors?
Well, no. I mean, actors. Listen, if you want to tally how many specifically died, you would have to go around to everybody that claims to have family and go talk to those people and tally them all up.
Well, you said that there's a chance that Hitler didn't even exist. What I'm telling you is that there are Jewish people who are currently alive who give speeches who, as kids, were in concentration camps and had to get their arms tattooed, and they tell stories of the Nazi concentration camps. Do you think that they are actors or they're telling the truth?
Well, they must be telling the truth, probably, because we don't have any organization that says it was zero, right? We only have as low as 265,000. So I would say going by both the 265,000 number and the 6 million number, we can agree that some Jewish people died for sure in World War II, and many of them probably died in camps. As to who is right, I'm just telling you I don't believe the ADL. I don't necessarily trust the Red Cross either, because that's part of the medical military industrial complex. But I don't believe the ADL. Why should I believe the ADL? They've done nothing but try to censor me. They've done nothing but try to destroy free speech in this nation. They've done nothing but try to subvert us and divert our wealth over to the state of Israel. Why would I support the ADL? Or why would I believe anything they say? They're lying to you, Jackson. And a lot of this stuff is propaganda. Why don't we ever hear about the Ukrainians? Why don't we ever hear about what happened
You can
in the
look
Soviet
up
Union?
We do. You can. There's tons of books and information
we don't.
about.
When I haven't heard anything about, I brought it up. You didn't once bring it up. I brought it up, and I'm not even Ukrainian.
Okay, but what I'm telling you is there's tons of information.
About the Ukrainian genocide.
Right. It is not as mainstreamly taught. That is true. But there's tons of information.
Why
I
do you
have no
think
idea.
That is?
Tell me why you think that is. I don't know.
Because we don't have a lot of Ukrainians running our media and running our immigration policy. And
that I would agree with you. That is probably
specific.
why. That makes a lot of sense. That makes sense to me. That the reason that we learn about certain things in history is based on who is in power to tell the stories. I agree.
Yes, and based on who the winner is.
But it
right?
means both
it
of them still
right
happened.
Or true. Like, just because World War II was written from the point of view of Europe, the Jews, and the United States, that doesn't mean it's real or true.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it depends on how much you trust the Freemasonic, Illuminati elite system that we live in. I've taken the veil completely off. I know we're not on a globe. I know there are a lot of things about World War II that didn't go down the way they say they went down. I know that they're lying to us about things like transgenderism and transracialism, and Jussie Smollett got attacked by white nationalists.
No,
I know that all of these are lies.
The Jussie Smollett thing is such an obvious lie. That's so different. The fact that you can
it's not different.
Put that.
It's about as
oh my
obvious
God,
as
you're so
trannies
fucked.
in the media.
Okay, let's talk about the pedophile sex ring. I know obviously almost nothing about it because I think it's an insane conspiracy theory. So tell me about what's happening with pedophile sex ring in our politicians.
I mean, it's not a conspiracy. It's pretty obvious. Our politicians, Hollywood, the media, a lot of these people are really involved in this sort of ritualistic sacrifice, this pedophilic sexuality. They want to add that on to the that's the next step for LGBTQ, is adding the P and getting us all to accept it as a sexual orientation. It's happened with the gay stuff. It's now happened with the transgendered stuff. That's the very next logical step for all this to go. As far as like the pedophilia, it specifically goes on in Washington and Hollywood without a doubt. But I would say in all the upper echelons of society, this kind of stuff is happening. You know, you've got why does the like, for instance, the Clinton Foundation, right? Why is there so much sketchy stuff about the money, where it went? Why are
because she's a corrupt, bribed politician. And she gets donations from corporations, and then she gives them benefits once she is in power in politics. But that's very different. They all do that, though.
They're all doing that.
No,
Trump
Bernie Sanders doesn't take. Bernie Sanders doesn't take corporate money.
Bernie Sanders
is his whole campaign is that he only takes individual people's donations because he believes in representing the people.
He wants to take my money and give it to people that don't work.
No, he doesn't, Charles. You have no money. No, he doesn't. You have no money. He wants to take millionaire and billionaires' money and help you get health care and education because you weren't as privileged as the millionaires and billionaires. No, he wants to give me a pittance of $1,000 a month for cultural. No, he doesn't, you fucking idiot. That is Andrew Yang. Yang. That's Andrew Yang, not Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has no campaign to give $1,000 a month. That's Andrew Yang.
No, but he still supports the welfare state. Come on. Bernie Sanders is a welfare
Bernie
state
Sanders believes in social programs where, considering there are 3 Americans who have more wealth than the lower 50% of the American population, he believes that we should tax the hell out of the richest people so that people who were born in poverty can get a decent education and try to have a good life and get some wealth.
I just want my free fucking speech. I don't need the education.
He believes in free speech. I believe in free speech too. Yes, Bernie Sanders believes in free speech. So do I.
Well, yeah, right, but it's like they're always promising all this. It's not up to the politicians to give us anything. You know, we should have our speech, our own labor, soil. That's all that matters.
Okay, so
you know, this school and credit and debt and materialism.
So you don't think that the government should fund through taxpayer money the fire department so that when someone's house is burning down, the government helps to try to save stuff and take the fire out?
You don't do it through the government. Stuff like that could be privatized. I mean, anybody can debate on that.
Okay, what about public schools? Do you think that public elementary and high school should be provided?
Not. That is up to parents. Parents educate the children.
So if a kid is born without money, okay, so you don't believe in public education even for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds?
Absolutely not.
So if you don't have money, you just won't get educated if you're young and you were born into poverty. You just sorry, we can't help you.
I just said the parents educate the kids. It should be the parents' responsibility to educate the kids. I mean, in a perfect world, it would be the mother's responsibility. But we don't live in that perfect world. We live in a world where everybody's transgendered like you want them to be, and the women are out working.
I never said that. All I ever said was that I want people to be who they identify as and be happy and live a comfortable life. I don't care if that means everyone is cisgendered, if everyone identifies, but clearly there are people that identify as trans, so those people...
I've been letting you say that and I'm just going along with it, but I just want to make it for the record on this stream that cisgendered is Hollywood tranny language. It's, you know, it's not real.
Anything else you want to bring up on this conversation?
There's women.
Anything else you want to bring up on this conversation?
Why, are you getting upset?
No, no, not at all. I love this so fucking much. I'm just going through my notes, and I think we've hit everything on my notes, so I'm asking you, what else are we going to talk about here? What are some topics that you're passionate about that we haven't talked about?
Well, I would like to get your personal opinion on
please.
The economy and the debt system and the national deficit of like 15 trillion. What do you think is going on here? Are the Jews, you know, breaking us over the coals or what?
So I don't know what you mean by that. I think
like, are we getting shafted here or do you think it's good? Should we just keep going into debt as a nation? And
I don't know. I think it's probably too complicated for me to understand. I don't really. Yeah, how? Like we're $1 trillion in debt, but are we ever gonna pay that? No. What does it even mean?
On a personal basis, do you think individuals should be going into debt, or should we? In my personal opinion, I think we should leave the debt system, and we should try to leave the fiat currency system, and we should leave the Democrat-Republican voting system. We need to all turn our back on that. That means dropping out of the economy, trying our best to slow the economy down any way that we can. We need to make it crash because it has to come down. The only people that are benefiting is the Rothschilds in Israel. All of us in America
there is something to
are getting shafted.
No, there is something to that.
And they're ruining the planet. They're ruining the planet. They're ruining lives.
So here's what I believe. Things. I think that when we live in a country, you and I. Well, I haven't been in the United States for a year and a half, but I'm an American. Um,
You've
you and
oh, okay. I see.
both in like in America, you cannot get bailed out or get rid of your student loan debt, for instance, but banks who completely crash the housing market can get bailed out of millions and billions of dollars
Right,
by our government.
right.
That's totally corrupt and fucking ridiculous and all a part
Or
of
the
the
corporations
government corrupt
paying
system.
zero sales
Absolutely.
tax or
Amazon
zero.
paid zero in
Yeah.
tax. Nice, we're going to agree on something. Amazon paid zero in taxes in 2018, and Jeff Bezos is like the richest person in the world. It's complete corruption. It's ridiculous. And guess what? Guess who's the
And
biggest candidate in order to get Amazon and corporations like that in order to pay a fair share
Elizabeth
of
Warren.
taxes? Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders.
Yep,
So I guess
I
you're a
know.
fan of Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders then.
I want Warren over Sanders, to be honest with you.
Well, they're very similar, and they're good friends. They have a lot of similar policies. They both signed what's called the Progressive Pledge, where they believe in universal health care for all Americans, like Canada, like pretty much every other developed
But see, they want to give
rich
us
country.
universal health care, and then they want to take away our free speech. They want to give
No,
us,
they don't.
you know,
They've never said
access
they
to-
want to take away our free speech. None of them wants to take away our free speech. You're just making that up.
No, not exactly. No, I mean,
Yeah, you are. It's
Bernie
not a part of
Sanders
their
is the one that's
policies.
always saying, we got to shut down the anti-Semites. We got to ban these anti-Semites from social
Yeah,
media.
we
And then,
should
you know,
ban
Elizabeth Warren says the
anti-Semitism.
same thing.
Anti-Semitism
like,
is just a sign of being a stupid person. If you're racist or anti-Semitic, it just shows you're bigoted and ridiculously not
but
intelligent.
that's not a real identity. Nobody identifies as anti-Semitic or
Yeah, they
whatever.
do.
Like, it's not a real thing. It's a
Okay,
weapon.
okay.
It's a weapon.
Hey, Charles.
the le-
In Charleston, in Charlottesville, North Carolina, 2 years ago or whatever, right-wing people chanted with tiki torches saying, "The Jews will not replace us," and
You
had
really
swastikas.
think that was real? Do you really
Yes.
believe this happened?
Yes,
Do you really
that
think that
happened.
wasn't a CIA
Okay,
psyop?
wow.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Charlottesville, Virginia was a CIA psyop. All of the white nationalists that attended that rally, like Richard Spencer, Nicholas Fuentes, and there's others. A lot of them are trans, and a lot of them, well, they all are, you know, some sort of CIA control op group. But that wasn't real. It's fake. It's fake media, fake news, fake events. You really think it was real?
100%.
Well, then you have less faith in Americans than I do.
There are racist people out there. They're not the majority of Americans, but there are racists out there.
Plantriotic.
Okay, so was the
We
Civil
don't know
War
any racist
fake?
people. Who do you know that's racist? Who do you know that's ever owned a slave or wanted to own a slave?
Dude, I biked
What's
across
interesting
America.
about this is they
Okay,
cry
you ask
racism,
me
right? You cry
questions and then
racism.
you don't let me answer them. I've biked across the United States where Americans are flying Confederate flags. That is inherently anti-America. In the Civil
No, it's
War,
not.
America
No, you
fought
are
against the Confederates. You are misinformed. It was a war
you're
in which
misinformed. The
America won. America won and beat
America did not
the
win. The globalists won the
Confederates.
Civil War. The globalist shills that want to take away states' rights, take away national borders and national sovereignty, they were the ones that won. The Confederacy was about state rights. It wasn't about slavery. The Civil War had nothing to do with slavery. It was all about the globalist federal government structure taking over the
So
United States.
let's
And
say
they
the
won.
outcome of the Civil War was reversed. Do you think that we would have the same amount of freedom and equal civil rights for black people if the Confederates won today?
Yes, I do. I think they would have naturally gone in that direction anyways. But a lot
That
of
is the most
slavery was
ridiculous
on its
thing I've
way
ever
out
heard.
anyway. Slavery was not a very the system that they had in place was not very efficient. And so now they've got this system where everybody's a slave. They just call you an employee or a worker or you're
Do you
know,
think
in the
it's modern
servicing
day?
sector.
Do you think it's modern day slavery that prisoners are paid $1 an hour in order to fight forest fires, wildfires?
Well, they're prisoners. I think what's a better example of modern day slavery is like the Walmart worker who they'll give
Yes.
them like 35 hours a week, but then they also have to
True.
sign up for food stamps, and
So, do you
Walmart's in
believe
on
in
it. The government's,
increasing the
this is
minimum
slavery.
wage to $15 or $20 an hour?
You could be making $350 an hour. You're still a wage slave. My labor's
Okay.
not for sale.
And how's it
The only
working
thing you
for you?
really own is your own labor.
That's
And
true,
people sell it and they
we
rent
live
it
in a
for
system where
nothing.
people get jobs in order to make money to just have normal lives. Like, it might not be the perfect system, but that's the system we're in. So don't you think that people should get paid a living wage if they do work full time at Walmart? They should be able to feed their families and go to school and all of that stuff. Whereas now that's not the case. There's people who live in vans and work at Walmart and practically live in poverty while having a full-time job because these rich people don't give them enough working hours and a living wage.
It's part of that. Yeah, I mean, this is a very, very complex issue, but
Yeah.
it's the fact that we're getting taxed and the corporations don't get taxed, right? They make all
Okay,
profit and they don't
you
got to pay a
realize,
single thing.
literally, dude, you are a Bernie Sanders supporter if you believe that. That's
I'm
what
not a
Bernie's
Bernie Sanders supporter. Stop.
whole campaign is all about. The things in terms of this issue that you want. His whole thing is to stop the corruption and to get the richest people and corporations to pay workers a living wage and for
I don't think that's what it is.
and
I think he just wants
yes, it
more
is,
money
bro.
for the big government. He's not
Oh
planning
my God,
on
he's
lifting
literally
anybody out of
the
poverty. If
opposite of
anything,
that, you
he's going to make
fucking
more
idiot.
poor people.
Oh my God. Okay, are there any other questions you have for me? Or
Why do you
topics?
trust the mainstream? That's my last question for you. Why do you
Okay,
have so much faith in the mainstream?
great question. There's a few different mainstreams. There is the mainstream when you maybe talk about the science community, and in that case, I would trust the mainstream scientists who have gone through the most education and done the most research and studies in order to come out with concepts like climate change. When it comes
But you
to
wouldn't trust
politics,
them over your own logic.
well, all of the things that make logical sense to me are the things that the mainstream scientists also agree on. Like when I went to school and learned about the mechanisms of how pulling carbon out of the ground and putting it into the atmosphere would trap in greenhouse gases so that when the sun rays comes in, they can't reflect and go back out of the atmosphere as well because of the carbon in the atmosphere, which is why it's increasing the average temperature of the planet and thus melting ice caps, etc. When it comes to politics, I have a bajillion videos how I am so anti-establishment and anti-mainstream. People
So
like
you
Barack
don't think
Obama
Bernie
and
Sanders
Hillary
is
Clinton.
establishment? You think he's like
Oh my God,
alternative or
you know
whatever?
nothing about politics. So listen, people like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Donald Trump and George Bush and uh, all of the establishment politicians who take money from corporations, which to me is bribery, which is illegal in most countries. You can't take unlimited donations from corporations because
Right. I
guess what?
agree with you on this.
So wait and listen. So when a corporation gives a politician hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, don't you think that when that politician gets elected, they're going to give them unfair advantages, which are not for the average person, which is the responsibility of politicians, but they are going to favor making the rich and the elite richer because they're the ones funding the campaigns. Bernie
Exactly.
Sanders has, for the last 50 years, been advocating for shutting down that corrupt system, which is why he has never taken a dollar of corporate money and only gets funded by individuals, and he's going to throw out all of the corruption so that
I don't believe
politicians
that,
are
though. I'll have
actually
to fact check that,
representing the
'cause how would he
average person.
compete?
Exactly, dude. That's why he didn't win last election, because Hillary Clinton and Donna Brazile, the head of the Democratic National Party, conspired against him during the debates by giving Hillary the questions first, because Bernie Sanders' whole thing is that he's going to take all the establishment Democrats out of their fucking jobs, because he's going to put it in with actual real people who want to help Americans instead of help corporations and rich people. So that's his whole campaign. Get the money out. Get the corruption out. Let's have this government, like our founding fathers created it, actually represent the average person so that we can live good lives and protect the environment, instead of letting this whole system run off the backs of corporations who are just getting richer, as the average person can't even fight for a living wage. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Tulsi Gabbard, all the progressives, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, are fighting for the average person and to get the corruption out. And all establishment Democrats like Hillary and even a ton of establishment, Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, they're all the same thing as the Republicans. They're part of the corruption. Bernie Sanders and progressives are specifically different. And that's what they run on, and that's why they haven't been president and in power, because it's so hard when you're getting funded by the average American to compete against getting funded by the rich and the elite. But because of the internet and because of information getting out there, now progressive candidates are winning because they're actually telling the truth, versus the corruption, which has been able to be the system in place before people could talk about it.
I mean, I hope you're right. Like, if Bernie Sanders gets the nomination, I hope what you're saying is right. But I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. My last,
yes, we will.
I know that was my last question, but one more question I have for you, because I brought it up earlier.
Keep them coming. I want more questions.
The situation, the Jewish lobby, what's your opinion on that in the United States government? Like, their influence and stuff. What's your opinion?
So I grew up Jewish. My parents and all my friends' parents are mainly Jewish. I grew up in a Jewish community, and I have zero information or life experience to suggest that there are specifically Jewish people who are trying to control anything based on their Judaism. Do I think that there are Jewish people who happen to be really rich and successful and powerful who really care about money and are trying to influence elections because they want to get richer? Yes, but I've never seen anything within Judaism specifically. The Koch brothers aren't Jewish. They do the same corrupt shit that some rich Jewish people would do with politicians. So I don't really know how to answer it beyond that question. Is there a more specific way you can ease me into it?
AIPAC and like Israel's,
so I'm super anti-Israel. I'm not a Zionist. I'm anti-Israeli government. I think they're war criminals. I think that they should stop occupying settlements of Palestinians. Palestinians throw rocks trying to defend the land that they live in, and Israel mows them down with guns. I think it's a total war crime behavior.
Not a lot of Jewish people do say that. I mean, some do. But
yeah, they do. All of my Jewish friends say that because we're progressives. We're not right-wing conservative Jewish idiots like people who support the state of Israel politically. I'm a progressive.
So I get that. I totally understand that.
Cool.
Well, there's
conservative Jews and then there's progressive Jews.
Look into AIPAC and look into like the Jewish lobbies and stuff, because it's interesting, because I think you would be interested to know just how much say the boys over in Israel have on everything from free speech to medication to guns and taxes.
Let's talk about vaccines. We got to talk about vaccines.
We do have to talk about vaccines. You want to make that the absolute last topic for tonight?
I don't need it to be, but if you want it to be, sure.
Well, I don't want to make it too long.
Yeah.
I think vaccines is a great topic, and let's spend a few minutes on that, and then we can.
Sounds good.
We'll close it out in a little bit.
Sounds good.
But
Maggie, my dog, wakes me up at 6 a.m. anyways to go to the beach, so it's getting to be my bedtime anyways.
That's what's
You
up.
think vaccines are a conspiracy? Tell me about it.
Well, yes, I've identified something that I call the military medical industrial complex, the MMIC. In my opinion, they are developing a lot of the illnesses, a lot of the cancers, and a lot of the viruses, and then they develop the cures. This is a huge multi-trillion dollar business, hundred trillions of dollars in business, and the medical industrial complex is bigger than the military itself. So yes, I think it's a huge problem. And vaccines is only one way they're poisoning us. People get injured after taking vaccines. Vaccines injure you. Nobody should be taking vaccines.
Well, but we know that only a tiny fraction of the people who actually do get vaccines end up with health issues like autism or stuff like anti-vaxxers will promote. So how could you say that,
Well,
considering most people are vaccinated and don't get any issues like that?
But if they don't get autism, they might get, immune disorders later on in life. They could see a lot of people, they get sick later on and they never really attribute it to the vaccines. It's the same way, like when a lot of these women, they get breast implants and then they get sick from the breast implants, but they never put it together that it's the breast implants making them sick. And the doctors, they're all lying and
Well, I agree with
colluding
that. I
to
think
make
that's a
us
lot
sick.
different than vaccines.
Why do you trust the government to make a vaccine for you? Like, here's the thing about vaccines, right? A lot of times they're free. If you wanted to, could you get a free vaccine somewhere if you wanted to?
I have no idea.
Well, you never see it like Rite Aid when they're
Yeah.
offering free vaccines in America.
Right, they're doing that so that we don't get huge disease outbreaks.
Right, but you're gonna tell me that I have to pay for food, but they're gonna give me a vax for free. Like, do you see why that's very suspicious? We have to pay for the
No,
food,
I
but
I
this is
don't,
free?
Charles, because food is something that in 1 month is going to be something you consume a lot of because you're a human being. Although I'm not sure you believe that because you don't believe in evolution. But vaccines are something that you get once, and then it prevents potential
It's not.
disease outbreaks. So I think that's very
Well,
different.
but it's not doing that, right? Like, we
Yes,
had
it is.
measles eradicated, and somehow measles is back. What's up with that?
Because not everyone is vaccinated all over the world, and we have people coming in and out of different countries.
Well, let me go with the first thing you said. We are never going to be able to get, because they say, the source I have says that 95% of the population has to get the vax for it to be 100% effective. So my point is that you'll never be able to convince even 50% of the population to willingly get vaxxed. So under that pretense, we should not have vaccinations at all then, because if they're not effective, unless the majority gets it, and we can't force the majority to get it. I mean, I guess we could with the barrel of a gun, but you and I could both see how that's wrong. We should just do away with vaccinations, let people build up their own immune systems. Like, for instance, I got chickenpox as a kid.
So did
and
I.
The reason I think I've enjoyed such good health, and maybe you've enjoyed such good health over the years, is because that chickenpox virus was good for us. We built up an immune system.
So
after
that is true. That's
And
absolutely true.
so this is the argument against vaccines. And like the AIDS vaccine or the Ebola vaccine, the only reason they're developing this is because they've developed the diseases. They are making the AIDS, the Ebolas, the dengue fevers, the malarias. They're making this because they want to get rich.
The Illuminati?
Biochemical, well, it's specifically in this situation, kind of like we were talking about the geological engineers. There's also biological weapons manufacturers in Africa. You should look into Lyddon Biomedics, or look into the the vaccine manufacturer Merck, Merck is convicted, or maybe it's Merck, might be pronounced Merck. I think it's Merck. I'm sorry. They have been convicted in the United States of falsifying vaccine data. These drug companies, the vaccine companies, the biological developers, the weapons manufacturers, they're all just trying to make money. They're trying to create industry where it's kind of like the debt system, right? The debt system just makes money out of nothing. It's the same thing with the medical, military, and industrial complex. They're making money and profiting. It's also part of the depopulation program, though. Eugenics equals depopulation equals sustainability. Every time you hear that word sustainability, what they really are talking about is reducing the population. And Bill Gates said they were going to do it using vaccines. Have you heard that clip?
No.
Well, Bill Gates said vaccines will help to reduce the population at a TED Talk. But when's the last time you've been vaccinated?
It's been a while. Maybe
years, right?
Yeah.
I would never do it again if I were you.
And to be honest, I probably
we
won't.
will be lucky if we're not sterilized.
I think vaccines are the kind of thing where I don't think that they cause autism. I don't think that it's a plot like you say they are, but I do think that parents have the right to abstain from all vaccines if they want to just have a natural process with their children. I think people should have the right to do that, but I don't think that it's dangerous to get a vaccine.
Do you think it's dangerous to not get vaccinated? For, like, let's say a population of kids at a public school.
Right. I think it probably increases risk of some disease spreading, but at the same time, it probably also increases the kid's individual immune system. So I think it's a nuanced thing. I think it could end in disaster, or if everyone tries to stay healthy and no incoming viruses come in, it could be healthy to have a bunch of fully natural kids, but people are going to be traveling, they're going to pick up viruses, etc. So if I had to go one way or another, I would probably be more on the pro everyone getting it than not, just because I see potential for problems. But I also see your point that to have a healthy immune system and stuff like that, it is better to not have those vaccinations. So I think it's a pretty nuanced, complicated
the main
thing.
reason is whether, it's whether it's somebody's will or not. If somebody doesn't want to get vaxxed or doesn't want to get their kids vaxxed for whatever reason, that has to be respected. We can't move in the direction where the state forces vaccinations.
I agree. But I don't think that it's a plot to sterilize people and all that. I do not agree.
So you don't identify the military-industrial or the medical military-industrial complex? Do I acknowledge it or not?
Do I think that our medical system is trying to inject chemicals into people's bodies in order to control certain things?
No, that's not what I asked you. Do you acknowledge the existence of the medical military industrial complex?
I would need to know more about exactly what you mean by that. For instance, is the fact that lifestyle design isn't talked about as much in our sick care, healthcare system, is that a part of the complex, or is that different?
That's just one of many of the conspiracies. Yes.
Okay, so
instead of getting people healthy, they want to put you on the drugs.
Okay, so I am completely with you on that it's a massive, the pharmaceutical industry, I think it may be or is one,
it's either is
one of or is the biggest it
is the medical industry alone is
massive.
The biggest sector. It's bigger than the military.
Right, so I think that there's so much money in getting people sick and having them on drugs that they don't teach, exercise, healthy diet, etc. And I think that is a conspiracy.
Healthy
but
lifestyle,
that's so different than vaccinations.
What makes you think they would stop there? Why wouldn't they just go ahead and infect us to make sure that not only on top of not living a healthy
where
lifestyle,
you're going with that,
but also that we're 100% going to get sick with something? Why would they just stop there at hiding information about lifestyle? If you acknowledge that, how can you not acknowledge the possibility that they're poisoning us?
Yeah, I see the train that you have gone on with that, and I see how you've gotten there. I think
seems logical to me. Like if they would
Yeah,
hide that info,
it doesn't
they would also
seem
hide the
as
info that the
deep.
vaccines are poisonous and have viruses in them, or that the virus will develop later on in life. Or maybe it'll be cancer, or maybe it's sterilization. Maybe they're fucking with our testicles when they vaccinate little boys. You know, maybe they're fucking with female
But
ovulation
there's just too
hormones when they
many
give vaccines.
But most people who got vaccinated, who are our generation, end up having children and are completely fine. So if vaccines were specifically meant to sterilize people, how come the vast, vast,
That's
vast
actually not true, though. Our
majority
birth
of
rate is
kids of
horrible. No, you're wrong on that. The birth rate in 2015 was the lowest it's ever been in the United States. So that's not true. Americans are having a lot of difficulty having kids.
right, and I think there could be environmental reasons for that. I don't think it's vaccines. But I
Well,
don't.
that
But
would be
I can't
environmental.
tell
If
you
you
for
were to
sure.
go get a vaccine, that's part of
No,
your
that's just
environment.
that's one part of it. There are other environmental factors as well that can contribute to that, like hormones in food and our agriculture system and pesticides, a lot of different
Right, but if
things.
they're poisoning us that way, they're definitely poisoning us with shots.
But what
If
I'm
they're poisoning
saying
the
is the
food, they're
fact
poisoning
that
us with
right,
shots.
but I don't
Well,
think
better
but I
believe
think
it,
it's
100%.
all around just saving and making money. I don't think it's about poisoning people. I think the fact that they're pesticides is because it makes it easier to get more yield in your crops, and so that's why they're doing it. But that could negatively affect
Well, then
things
why do
like
they do the hormones? Why do they put hormones in food if that's negative
again
on us?
because if you feed hormones to cows, they will produce more milk and meat. So that's just more meat and milk per animal.
Right, and if you put more estrogen
Remember when you
into
were
the
vegan,
cows and the chickens,
Charles?
and then
Remember
humans
the
eat it,
days?
they will
Remember the
consume the
days when you
estrogen
were
and
vegan?
become
Oh,
transgendered. I think
okay.
that's why a lot of transgenders we're seeing in society is because they're fucking with our hormones. They're trying to make us gay.
Okay, Alex Jones. I have one more question for you.
All right,
I
we'll do one
post.
more. One more.
I'm sorry
And
for
then I'm going to
taking your
let you go.
time. I post pictures of a bowl of food that consists of rice, beans, vegetables, and avocado, which to 99% of human beings would seem like a very healthy meal. I've been vegan for 7 years. I've put on a lot of muscle in the last few months because I haven't been biking and I've been lifting weights eating those food. I don't get sick, and I eat calories of foods, and I build muscle and live a really active life cycling the world. And you say that you post pictures of my rice, beans, and vegetables and say Plantriotic thinks this is food. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Well, I mean,
Or are you
obviously,
just trolling?
I'm having a go at your vegan diet, but I do wonder. You really are. It appears that you're thriving for the little amount of
Yeah.
nutrition that you're giving yourself.
Zero,
You do
zero
appear to be doing pretty
protein
good.
powder, zero animal products. I take a B12 supplement, and I eat fruits, rice, beans, and vegetables, and I build muscle, and I live actively, and I am healthy, and I'm
Well,
not
let's not
sick
say
and all
that
What?
quite yet. Well, let's get you in the gym first, homie.
So you clearly don't look at my social media. You can actually go look at my latest Instagram post I posted today. 3 months
look at it
ago,
right now.
3 months ago, I stopped biking as much, and I decided I wanted to do some lifting and hang out here in the tropics instead of being on the road so much. So you can see the before picture, which was about 90 days ago, is when I was lean as a motherfucker and skinny because I've been cycling for the last year and a half. And then you can see the muscle that I've put on, 100% protein powder free, low, I probably get anywhere from 60 to 90 grams of rice, bean, lentil protein per day. And you can see how much bigger everything from my neck to my chest to my biceps and all the muscle I've put on in the last 3 months eating my vegan diet.
Yeah, no, I mean, for sure. It's for a 3-month transformation. It's really good. And especially for a 3-month transformation on like 90 grams of plant protein,
or
it is
less,
pretty good.
or
But
less.
can you keep it up another 7 years? That's the question. Like everybody now
So 7
is sort
years
of
isn't
waiting to
enough.
see if you like
7 years
this.
isn't enough.
Well, like I think eventually you will quit veganism.
What makes you think that? I feel great.
Because
I
everybody
believe in the
does.
cause.
Everybody does. There's
It's
not
not true.
one that hasn't.
Sure, Dr. Joel Kahn has been vegan for over 30 years. He's a
Yeah, but do you
dad.
believe him?
He's had kids as a vegan. I've had him on my podcast. He's super passionate. Why would he put all the work he's put into his research and advocacy if he just didn't believe in it?
Well,
He's
I've lobbied and
Jewish.
fight for causes
He's
all the time they
Jewish.
don't necessarily believe in.
Okay.
Money is a very, very evil factor, but I don't know. I'd have to look more into them. I know people like, like I don't trust like, what's the other one? Michael Greger. I think he's satanic actually, but I don't think he's vegan or even plant-based.
Are you sober these days? Do you do any drugs or alcohol or anything, or do you stay sober?
I do not do drugs. No, I mean everybody knows I have. In the past, I've come from a little bit of a, but no, I don't use drugs. I don't see how it's relevant to the conversation.
I was just curious, and if you wanted to ask me, I'd answer it too. I was just wondering if you enjoy some California cannabis once in a while, or if you just like to live a fully sober, 100% sober life. Just curious.
I'm not against weed. I have, I don't. If I'm gonna use weed, I usually get like a vapor pen.
Yeah.
But I
love those as well.
A long time.
Got it. Well, yeah, you don't sound like. I mean, you do and you don't. You know what I mean? You don't sound like you do drugs in terms of.
I do what?
I was making a joke in that I think like you clearly you don't sound like you're doing drugs in that you're very articulate, like you're total. You don't seem like you're on drugs at all, but because of how
I'm completely
different. Oh yeah, I know. I'm just saying how you view the world is completely incoherent to how I believe the world. So it was like kind of a joke in that I totally believe you're not on drugs. It doesn't sound like it, but I also think you could completely be on drugs because I think you're out of your mind.
Are you on Strava?
Yeah, my whole trip is on Strava from Alaska all the way here.
I'm gonna find you. Follow me on Strava, or just you don't have to follow me, but look through my profile.
Yeah,
dude, my recent runs, dude, I could not be this athletic and be on drugs.
I just said I'm kidding. I know you're not on drugs. By the way,
I just want you to know I'm very fit and active. I don't cycle.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah, I know.
I'm following you right now.
Nice, yeah. My Strava is crazy.
You got 0 miles this week.
Dude, I just told you I'm
you're in the gym.
chilling, but I biked here to Costa Rica from Alaska, and you can see it all on my Strava.
That's crazy. That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
That is actually amazing. That's really.
And I'll
cool.
I probably have about 8 or 9 more months of my trip, and then if I finish, hopefully in Argentina, I will come fly to LA to visit friends and family, and I'll see you there.
Sounds good. Well, I enjoyed the conversation again.
This was amazing. I'm so happy about this. This is exactly what I wanted to share with people. I want people to know who you are and get your viewpoints out, and that's what you did. But here is the final thing. You don't have to do it if you want, but I feel fine doing it. I want us each, after this conversation, to just share how we feel about each other in terms of like just all issues aside, like just as people, but also as our philosophies and beliefs, like just your opinion on me and my opinion on you. Are you comfortable doing that? And then we're done.
Yeah, of course. For sure, 100%. All right.
You want me to go first or you?
You go first.
Okay. I really like talking to you. I consider you a friend.
Thanks.
I think that you're really fun to talk to. I also appreciate the level of passion you have, and that you're not just like a drone going through the world just accepting everything and not caring about issues. You're honestly like me in that clearly from this conversation, we both do a lot of research about things that a lot of other people just don't give a shit about. They don't care what the government's doing. They don't care what the elites are doing and all this stuff. And I appreciate that you're someone like me who likes to get deep into that stuff. So that's the positive. I also think you're just a good conversationalist and stuff like that. And here's where the negative comes in. I think you are a completely brainwashed, homophobic, conspiracy theorist, fucking nut, and like I think that this gets like to be actually sad and personal, but I have to say it. I think that based on some stuff you shared, I think you are ashamed of certain things that maybe your parents or your friends criticized you about in terms of your sexual explorations or how you feel about, I don't know what kind of sex stuff you've gotten into, but it's very common for people who are a bit experimentative or whatever to then repress those feelings and be ashamed and judge other people for how they feel. And I think that that's sad that you offend and create a unsafe space for LGBTQ people, and I think that's sad. I don't know why you feel in those ways, but you do. And I think you're a part of just like the internet generation of just like everyone's out to get us and all these conspiracy theories. And like I believe there are people out to get us, like Amazon not paying taxes, but that's so different than like lizard people, Illuminati stuff. So I think you're batshit crazy. And I hate that you discriminate against LGBTQ people and stuff, but at the end of the day, I respect your free speech, and I would never want you to get deplatformed, given that you never actually incite violence onto people. Although I do have some vehement anti-Charles social media people who on the daily go through your comments and send me like, look, Charles said he wants to kill this woman for saying that. I think that, yeah, I have people that just send me like your comments all the time. You guys are
insane.
It's not me. It's not me. I don't do this. I have people who send me like, look, Charles in a live stream said that like he should kill this woman. You want me to pull one up specifically?
I pull whatever you want up.
Whatever. Okay, look, I don't think you're actually inciting violence. I don't think you're actually inciting physical violence, which is why I respect your free speech to talk freely on the internet about all of your reprehensible, illogical, completely unscientific, complete batshit crazy concepts. I think we agreed on only a couple things, which is that the establishment media and the richest people in the world are absolutely hoarding power and money and are not being, fair to the average person, but that is basically all we agree on, and we think they're doing it for different reasons, so we almost agree on nothing, but there's just something charming about you, and you're fun to talk to, and I hope that we can stay friends even though we disagree on so many concepts, and I just wish you the best. All right, what do you think about me in this conversation?
Well, thank you. Very flattered, and by some of the things. Well, one thing I want to add to what we agree with that I really appreciate is we both, I think, care about the environment. I think we both care about what is right. Like we're both kind of we're both trying to figure out what is ethically and morally, and what should be justified. Like that's where I think we kind of get on because we're both sort of in the pursuit. But,
yes, truth seekers.
As far, man, I don't know. I mean, I could be. You want me to be really, really honest?
I want you to be so honest. It's so hard to offend me. What do you think about the fact that I believe in climate change in the scientific way, and I believe in LGBTQ rights, and that it's completely normal and great to have trans politicians and gay celebrities if that's what they identify with, and that I believe that evolution is real, and I believe in gorillas, all of that. What do you think about it?
I think you could be a transgender, and you're not telling me.
Okay, keep going.
And
that's it?
I suspect by some of your ratios that I could be right, and also for the reason that you consider yourself cisgender, which I don't really think is a thing. Like I just don't think it's a thing. And so, oh shit, there's fireworks.
July 4th is starting soon.
You told me tonight that you weren't, but I had some, to be honest with you, I've got some of your haters, not a lot of them, it's like 1 or 2 people, but they sent me some photos of you because I was putting out all this FTM, MTF kind of stuff. And so that's what I'm sort of leaving with tonight is I had a great conversation. I consider you a friend as well. I hope you're not lying to me about being cisgender.
I haven't lied. I have not lied to you about one thing this entire conversation, and I swear on my dog Maggie's life, who is like the most important thing in my life.
Well, you don't got to swear on anybody's life. Serious.
Is there anything I can do for you, Charles, to prove that I was born with a penis and have a penis and identify as a man? Is there anything I can do for you to prove that?
See, here's the thing. I don't live in tranny world, so I don't care about anybody's penis. It's not a penis size.
So there's no way that I can prove to you that I'm not transgender, is what you're saying.
Well, out of the sort of goodness of my heart, I'm willing to go along with your word on it.
Okay. Because I'll tell you honestly that my sibling is identifies
right, and that was something else I
non-binary.
found kind of strange because I was suspecting that maybe you were transgender, and then you say that your sibling is transgender, and I know a lot of Jewish people. I think there are very
I have
rich,
2 siblings.
Jewish
one of them is trans, one of them is not.
Are transitioning their kids in utero. I have reason to believe that.
No, my sibling came out as transgender in their late 20s. Until their late 20s, me and my 2 brothers were all not transgender, but my sibling began their transition.
Are you an invert?
What?
Are you inverted?
What does that mean?
I don't know. Like,
are you talking about penis?
Just say, I'm a male. I was born with a biological male.
I'm a male. I'm a
dude. I'm a guy.
I've literally said that this whole
time,
and I've had
more convincing.
Dude, I've had hot girlfriends who we have hot sex. I'm a man. I have a penis. I can send you pictures. I would not send you pictures, but dude, I mean, what else can I say? I'm a dude. I'm a guy. I got a cock. I am not gay. I've never hooked up with a dude. I like chicks. I have dick and vagina sex. I'm gonna have a baby someday with a woman when I come in her vagina and we create a baby. Like, what else can I say?
Okay, so you don't have a vagina or micro penis?
No, I have like a 6-inch male Jew penis.
Okay, which finger is longer, your ring finger or your index finger?
My ring finger is longer. I'm looking right now.
You sure?
100%. I'm looking, and both my ring fingers are longer than my index finger. What does that say about me?
You're probably a dude.
And I have a size 13 men's foot, and I'm 6'2", 170 pounds.
You're 6'2"?
Yeah, you fuck.
Wait, what?
Yeah, what do you think I was?
6'2"?
I'm 6'2",
I had no idea you were that tall.
170, maybe even. Yeah, you fucking idiot. Go look at any of my videos.
6'2"?
I'm 6'2". So is my trans sibling. You fuck.
What is it got? Yeah, I didn't bring your
I
sibling
don't know.
into it.
I
don't
know.
have
I'm
anything
just
against
like
your sibling,
having
for the
fun.
record. I don't have anything against transgendered people on an individual
I know.
basis. Just for the record.
I'm
I had no
6
idea
foot
you were
2.
that tall.
I have a size 13 men's foot, and I'm probably around 170, 75 pounds right now.
Really?
And yes, those are all facts. And when we meet, when I'm in LA, we should. How
We'll
tall
have
are
a
you?
penis size contest.
Great, we
No,
can
I'm
do
just
that
kidding.
too.
I'm good. I'm
How
good.
how tall are
I'm
you?
kind of trolling you here, but there were some people that wanted me to ask that question, so I
I
figured
know the
since we
people
were
who
ending it
follow you
on
are
what we
probably
really
batshit crazy.
what was really on our mind, I figured I'd bring
Who
it up.
how tall are you?
I'm 5'10", about.
All right, cool. Well, it was great talking to you. Again, it was a
Yes.
lot of fun. Thank you for your honesty. And I think if you ever come out with some new beliefs, or I do in a few months, we should even do this again, because it's not
Of
often
course.
that we get to engage with people who are so into like getting in the nitty gritty on shit. Most people are just like, "Whoa, this is over my head, man." I like to talk
Most
about
people
this
are
shit.
like too afraid to like talk or
Exactly.
they get offended, and so
Yeah,
I'm glad that we can do this. You know,
you and I are really similar in that way. We don't get offended, and we like to get into deep shit. All right, I'm gonna
Exactly.
post this thing when I get better Wi-Fi, or maybe I can do it tonight.
Take your time.
Dude, have a great time in LA where I was raised, and I will be
Hell
back
yeah.
there
I'm gonna go
again
for a run.
someday. Nice.
All
All
right.
right.
I will
Peace,
talk to you
dude.
soon. We'll keep the drama lit.
All right, sounds good. See ya.
Peace.